Welcome back to the channel. We're back with some more Marvel Commander content here today. We've been doing a whole bunch of deck profiles for a whole bunch of the commanders, but with there being over 300 commanders, there's no way I'm going to be able to do all of them. So we're going to give our thoughts on each and every one of them, not just the main set ones, but we're also going to be doing the ones from the supplemental sets, whether it be the jumpstart sets, the commander sets, all those types of fun things that we're going to be seeing in order to make sure that we rank them anywhere from A tier to F tier. Like I said, there's over 300. We're going to be going in alphabetical order for the most part, starting with going through the ones from the main set. Then once we finish those, then we'll start the ones in the supplemental sets, just because a little bit easier to do it that way. We do want to make sure that we give our reasonings for each one, but if there's one that you want to see more reasonings on, or you just want to see a deck profile on it, and it's one I haven't already covered, leave it down there in the comment section below. But we have a lot to get through. Let's get into it card by card. Starting us off for our A tier, those are going to be our top 5 commanders. Normally we save it for 5%, but with there being over 300, we let it be where it's top 5 for the main set, then top 5 for the supplemental set as well. Our first one in there is going to be Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk. For 1 blue, you pay 2 XX in order to draw X cards. And sorcery speed, if he was on his own, wouldn't be a great commander. But with his reverse side, with the Incredible Hulk, you pay 2 red and 2 green for an 8/8 with reach and trample. And whenever he's dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter onto him. If he's attacking, untap him, and there's an additional combat phase. So we have plenty of ways to make sure that we have ways to deal 1 damage to him each time he attacks. Ways to make sure he's getting blocked by our opponent's creatures. This way he's getting powered up each time that we do that. So definitely super easy ways to take out our opponents from the game. Super easy to go infinite with caltrops with this card as well. So I think just with how easy it is to play him, how easy it is to just get a lot of power on the board, a lot of damage to each of your opponents, I think A tier is fitting. For our B tier, we have Hawkeye, Young Avenger. These are going to be the ones we expect to see across the table quite a bit. Not quite like top 5 material, but ones that were just okay, I'll definitely see that either in someone's command zone sometime soon, or I'm definitely seeing in someone's 99. For our first one there, we have Hawkeye, Young Avenger. For 3 in the red, we have a 2/4 with Reach, where if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent, or a permanent opponent controls, instead it deals that much damage plus X, where X is Hawkeye's power. Torbrand, already a really good commander on its own. She effectively has Torbrand's effect just at the baseline. So if you run a Spellslinger type deck, where you're running deal 1 damage anytime you cast a non-creature spell type effects, you're already getting 3 damage there. But then if you run, say, effects that'll buff up her attack stat, buff up, ways for her to deal some more damage when she attacks, by doubling her power, you're in a good position to be dealing double that amount of damage that you're dealing to your opponent's faces as well. Setting her easy there into B tier. For our C tier, we have Absorbing Man, a 1, a green, and a blue for a 4/4 with Vigilance, where at the beginning of your first main phase until your next turn, Absorbing Man becomes the copy of up to 1 target artifact. Oh, and it's target artifact, not non-creature artifact, non-or enchantment, or land, except his name is still Absorbing Man. He's a 4/4 human creature token, addition to his other types. So, we want to run either some good enchantments, like maybe you have a second Rhystic Study, maybe you have a second, if you have a second Unnatural Growth, that'd actually be really cool. 16/16 right off the bat. And then you run Vorinclex, and you're already at 32, and you just win the game. And he has Vigilance anyway, so who cares? You run some artifacts, you get a second copy of a Soul Ring. Definitely some really good copy effects. Cool to see Simic have a copy spell, because Simic gets whatever it wants anyway. So like to see it. So definitely ones we'll see in the 99 for the C tier, just not strong enough for that B tier quite yet. And then D tier, these are gonna be ones where they have a bit more of a limited type effect. More so ones where it's just only heroes, only teamwork type effects. And Ancient Maria Hills type effect. We have 1 white for a 2/1, where whenever she becomes tapped, to pay a teamwork cost, put a +1/+1 counter on her, and draw a card. It say it's just like whenever she became tapped, that'd be a really good effect. You probably have to limit it to like a once per turn type of effect at that point. Because that'd be a lot of draw power. You basically deck yourself out. But in terms of being for your teamwork costs, teamworks are far and few between in terms of like what we have so far. I'm sure we'll get more as like time goes on. Just in terms of what we do have access for teamwork abilities, D tier feels fitting. And then F tier. F tier tend to just be like, oh, just a strong creature. Maybe it has like a way to power itself up. Maybe it has like, oh, you get a 1/1 token sometimes, maybe. Only if you do a specific thing. So those are gonna tend to be our F tier ones, just the ones where it's just like, not happy to see that like in my pack. But there's definitely like a lot of legendary creatures, so it makes sense for them not to for everyone to be a banger. But for that we have Abomination, Terrifying Titan. For 3 green and a red, we have a 4/4 with Trample, and you pay 5 a green or a red, or a green and a red, and put a +1/+1 counter onto him. He fights at the 1 target creature you control. If that wasn't a power up ability, if that was just a normal ability, probably see him in D tier. But he's a 1-time fight spell for 5/5 with Trample that fights 1 target creature for 7 mana. That's a pretty high cost. In terms of like how often you're gonna be doing it, not super often. So F tier he goes. But now we're gonna be doing everything in alphabetical order. Like I said, once we finish the main set, we'll be going to the supplemental set. Maybe we'll break these into 2 video, but we'll see. Starting us off with Agent Phil Coulson. For 1 and a white, he has a 2/2 with Vigilance. You tap him in order to put a +1/+1 counter on each hero you control. Our heroes already pretty strong. We want to make them stronger. A lot of them have some effects that will benefit off of having the +1/+1 counters onto them. You have plenty of heroes in this set. But in terms of other sets, you just don't have access to that many heroes. So he is a pretty limited creature type in terms of what he powers up, in terms of like what you get going for yourself. And it is a little bit slow having to be a tap ability. You do it again and again, so like that's kind of cool. And he does power well, Agent Maria Hill. But still, D tier feels fitting. Next up, we have Ant-Man, Colony Commander. For 1, a green and a blue, we have a 2/2, where whenever Ant-Man attacks, you get to pay 1. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter onto target creature, whether it be himself, whether it be one of your others. And whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, you get a 1/1 green insect creature token. Only happens once each turn. Benefit of that, we have green. We get a 1/+1/+1 counter. It's basically Dree because we have the Oslo Shattered Spire, we have Hardened Scales, we have all those fun type of effects. In terms of the effect though, we get to do it during each player's turn because we just start with Ant-Man's effect, getting a +1/+1 counter onto each of our creatures right away. Sorry, getting onto one creature right away. But then we get onto each of more of our creatures as we go and we go. And we have ways to get onto each of our creatures as like those enter maybe, with like a Renata. And then we proliferate those thanks to our access to blue. So a way to get a lot of tokens each time you go around the table feels fitting for the C tier. Next up, we have Ares, God of War. For 1, a black and a red, we have a 4/3. Ares attacks each combat if able, and whenever an attacking creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand. So we have access to red, so we have access to a lot of attack triggers. We have access to black, so we have access to a lot of sacrifice outlets. Being able to swing with our creature, get the attack trigger, then sacrifice that creature before we have to worry about doing like any negative effects. Pretty good. Getting that recursion in order to get those enters effects again. Just have your creatures attack again and again. Really useful. Especially when you're taking like extra combat spells, actually something I didn't think of until right now. Is like if you take extra combats, you always have to worry about your creatures dying, but you just cast them again and like you're good. You're in a good position there. So B tier feels fitting. Next up we have Animzola, Biofanatic. Like I said, I didn't read through all of these just because there's over 300. It's really hard to. But for 2 and a black, we had 2/3. We pay 3 and tap him in order to create a tap 2/1 villain token with Menace. Activate only if there are 2 or more creature cards in the graveyard. Okay, we have access to black. Definitely really easy for us to get access to those 2 or more creatures in our graveyard. So we basically don't have to worry about that last line. In terms of how good this effect is, though, very bad. He's underpowered for his casting cost already, being a 2-3 for 3. But then paying 3 for a tap 2-1? It's tapped. It has menace, I guess. Like, that's kind of cool. Not cool enough to get added to F tier, though. That's 3 mana for 2-1. No, thank you. I'm good. I mean, like, you get some synergies with, like, getting villain tokens with, like, some other commanders. Just as himself as his own commander, not really worth it for us. Next up, we have Atuma, Atlantean Warlord. For 2 and 2 blue, we get 3/4. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. And whenever one of our merfolk you control attack a player, you get to draw a card. Spread the love, have our merfolk attack all different players, get to draw 3 cards each of our turns. And we have an Anthem effect on top of that. We have to draw a bunch of cards, and we get to power up our creatures. A little bit limited because it's merfolk, but as opposed to heroes being a very new creature type, merfolk have been around. Pretty sure, I think since the first set, probably. Sounds right. But yeah, just seems like a pretty solid C tier, like high C, low B easily. Next up, we have Baron Helmut Zemo. For 3 black, we have 3/3, where whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, you get to connive, meaning you get to draw a card, discard a card. So and then, whenever we and we could exile any number of black cards from our graveyards with 15 or more black mana symbols among their casting costs, and you can copy those exiled cards, and you can cast up to 3 of those copies without paying their mana cost. So we get a free Bowls of Citadel, free Archfiend of Ifnir, free Necropotence. Sure, I take that deal. You just have some other cards into your graveyard, but you have access to mono black. You have ways to mill cards. You have ways to discard cards. You have ways to want cards in your graveyard just to begin with. And he's not going to be our only way to get stuff out of the graveyard to begin with. It's pretty high cost to have 15 things in the graveyard, but I mean, if you play high like Devotion, not super hard, especially if Nikto's trying to Nix in this deck, really good there. And it's free spells, 3 free spells at that. It's basically an Atali at that point, except it's all your stuff, so you're choosing what you get. I have problems putting monocolored commanders into the A tier. I think he is on par with a lot of like strong A tier commanders. Just in terms of like having what we have access to, I think monocolored commanders that are top 5 still deserve B tier. He is still super strong, just don't have access to like much other things. Next up, we have Baron Strucker, Hydra Overlord for 2 in the black. We have 2/2. Villain spells we cost 1 less to cast, and whenever another villain you control enters, and have a connive, only once each turn though. It's during each player's turn, not just during our own. So we have ways to make sure that we're making the most out of that. We have ways to play like not dead after all, have the creature return. And we have ways to blink it. So like no access to like white, no access to blue in order to get those effects like super commonly. Conniving's a good effect. Reducing the casting cost pretty good. It's similar to like Atuma. Atuma has like the draw power plus the stat boost. That's what Connive basically does, except it's a counter. And he does that cost reduction there. So whereas he's not as much draw power as Atuma, I think he still deserves C tier. Next up, we have Beast, a Erudite Aerialist, a 3/3 for 3 in either a blue or a green. And as long as you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on Beast this turn, he is flying. And whenever he deals common damage to a player, you draw a card. Okay, so you're going to deal common damage because you're getting to fly in for some damage. Cool. Put 1 counter onto him with like, some card that puts 1 counter onto him. Maybe give him double strike and draw 2 cards. Oh boy. You are still going to draw cards at the end of the day. So like, and you have an easy way to draw cards. Like while he doesn't deserve C tier, he definitely feels healthy in D tier, like a lower D tier though. It could see F tier. Next up though, we have Black Panther Vanguard. For 2, a green and a white, we have a 4/4. Whenever another non-token hero you control enters, choose one. Get a soldier token, or creatures control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Okay, so whereas Atuma is a permanent buff, as long as Atuma's on the board, this goes away after the end of the turn. So that's not great. Or get the soldier token, sometimes maybe, if we have a hero that we're casting. Well, I guess enters. So like if we have a hero that we want to blink, that's okay. I don't think we really do. Especially not one that wants tokens. I mean, maybe. Actually, no. Monica Rambeau would actually. Oh no, she's not the same colors. Um, I could see low D as well. I mean, like, it's just not great. Like, even high F. Following up though with Black Widow, double agent for 1, a white, and a black. We had 3/2 with Death Touch. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains first strike and menace until end of turn. Oh, interesting. So it's this worse version of Squall. Squall gives a creature double strike for attacking alone, so slightly better than first strike menace. In my opinion, maybe you can make the argument that menace makes it a little bit better. But it also returns something from the graveyard for each time you hit. So definitely below that. I mean, that's also like probably an A tier commander. Not for Final Fantasy, but for like other sets. In terms of this effect, though, how badly do we want first strike and menace? I guess not very. We also only get it sometimes, and like we only get it on one creature if it attacks alone. If it's like attacks a player alone, like similar, if something like if this was worded similar to like the way Jinsekai was worded, which is like for each like player they're attacking, you can attack alone, much better. But in terms of it on its own, F tier. Black Widow Super Spy, 1 and a black for 2/1 with Menace, where whenever Black Widow deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards on the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You put a +1/+1 counter onto Black Widow, or you could cast that card until the end of turn, mana of any type. Okay, I kind of like that, because there's a lot of times you're playing these style decks, and you run out of mana in order to cast your opponent's stuff. So you get to look at it, then decide if you want the counters. Alright, 2 Menace makes it pretty easy to get that damage in. You can give it double strike in order to make sure that you're actually getting the effect more than once. Also gives it a pretty good stat boost. You have access to black, so you have access to like some good depth. I think she might work better in like some other decks, but in terms of her on her own as a commander, I think mid C tier sounds about right. Also, like, there's an alphabetical order. They're not going in terms of that order, what I'm saying. Following up though with Bullseye, Death Dealer. For 2 a red or black, we had 2/3, where when Bullseye enters, he becomes a horse. Toy Story reference. But you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a non-land card. When you do, Bullseye deals 2 damage to any target, be it our opponent's face, could be their creature. Just pay 3 and tap him in order to sacrifice an artifact or discard a non-land card. Okay, similar thing. Deal 2 damage to any target. Okay, so he has his effect, but his effect's repeatable as long as you could tap him. That's not a very good effect. It's the only problem. It's a very expensive sacrifice outlet. If it was just sacrifice an artifact or creature, I could see arguments for low C. But with this, I'm seeing mid D. Mid D sounds about right. Like we get to remove one thing, maybe a second thing, and it's only maybe we get to remove it if it's a 1/1 mana dork. But following up though, we have Captain America, Living Legend. Whenever a creature you control becomes tapped during your turn, it was the first time that creature became tapped this turn, untap it. So this is probably the commander I most want to build from this set. But I could also see that like maybe it doesn't quite deserve A tier. I could see it in A tier, maybe. We'll put it temporarily in A tier, just because of my own personal preference. Because I enjoy how many things you could do with this. You could run waterbending cards in order to tap and untap your creatures, and use their effects like multiple times for that. You could run the new station cards, like some pretty recent sets. If you're going back, you could just run mana dorks or run vehicles, and you're sitting pretty with that as well. Just like such a versatile commander in terms of like the number of different things that you can do with his effect. It basically just gives your creatures vigilance on top of that. If it's You don't need their effects for like those tap effects, which puts them into A tier in our book, but I could see why you wouldn't. Next up, we have Captain America Super Soldier. For 1 and 2 white, you get 3-2 at first strike, enters with a shield counter onto him, and as long as he has that shield counter, you and heroes you control have hexproof. So a little bit limited by being the heroes thing again. How much do we care about hexproof? I guess like kind of. Like us having hexproof is always nice. It's not protection, but it's pretty good. In terms of how much do we want that? I mean, like it protects your creatures. That's nice, but that's a pretty high D tier for us. Next up, though, we have Captain America Wings of Freedom. For 2 and a white, we get 3-1 with flying first strike and ward 1. And whenever he attacks, each other hero you control gets +X until end of turn, where X is his toughness. Okay, so creatures get +1/+1 if he's the one to attack. Okay. First strike counteracts 1 toughness, I guess. If you run a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters, each hero you control gets a stat boost only 2. If that was like each of your creatures, be sitting pretty high C tier, I'd say. Especially because, like I said, you just run tokens and like run Kadar's Crusade with that, and you're in a really good position. I'd probably put in B tier in my opinion. But in terms of where it currently is, it's powering up your other heroes only, and it's only powering up when he has to attack. So he has to attack. You can't even like save him to block. I think that's a high D, like a solid D, but a high D. Next up, though, we have Captain Marvel Spaceborne. As long as opponent casts a spell his turn, that you can cast spells as though they had flash. It's also a 4/4 for 4 and a white. So pretty expensive for this type of effect today. Urza's Battle Doctor and that one mirror that gives your artifacts flash, I think they're only like 3 mana. But here's the thing, they're just artifact spells. But they could do it no matter what. They don't have to rely on your opponent casting something. But that's the other thing with that. An opponent's going to cast something during their own turn at some point. It doesn't have to be a non-turn like player. So we're doing pretty good there. In terms of how good that effect is in the command zone now, like I don't know what exactly we're running with him, but I think that is still a solid C tier effect, like high C, but just because like being able to cast any like a board wipe at instant speed, just because your opponent casts their creature spell, I think I'll take that deal. Next up, though, we have Captain Marvel, Earth's Protector. For 3 and 2 white, you have 5/4 with Flash, Flying, and Lifelink. For 5 and 2 white, you could you put a 1/1 counter and an indestructible counter on Captain Marvel. Okay, so she's effectively a 6/5 with Flying, Lifelink, indestructible, and Flash. For 7 mana though. How good is that? I don't know if that's great. That's a lot of keywords, and like Flash is cool, but our opponent's gonna see it coming from the command zone. Putting into F tier for us. I could see arguments for D, but I don't think anything higher than that, in my opinion. Cloak and Dagger Entwine. For 1, a white and a black, you get 2/2 with Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever they enter, choose target opponent and up to 1 target creature they control. They reveal their hand, exile a non-land card from their hand or the chosen creature card, so this card leaves the battlefield. How often are you running Banishing Light anymore? Does anyone like still run Banishing Light? I guess you could blink it and like get to choose new targets each time. So like that's fun. In terms of how useful it is, though, I don't think very. I think like it is cool to have removal on a body, especially one with Death Touch and Lifelink. Like those are 2 good keywords. But I don't think higher than D tier because it's just temporary removal. Yeah, it's until they leave the battlefield. If it was until this creature dies, yes, that would be probably C tier because you could blink it and then keep on removing different things, and I think that'd be really cool. But having it just be when it leaves the battlefield, you can't blink it too often. Next up, though, we have Colleen Wing, Street Samurai. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter onto Colleen Wing and scry 1. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't have to target her, it could target any of your creatures. It's probably goes well with some of your Strixhaven and stuff. So that's cool to see. So it's pretty probably okay in standard. In terms of it on its own, though, it's a worse version of Burgone. Burgone Soldier of Melodus, or whatever her name was, from the Foundation set. I think that's a solid F tier. She's getting power ups very slowly and only maybe. Next up, we have Crossbones, a malicious mercenary. For Druid and Black, we have Druid with that touch. Whenever another villain you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on the Crossbones. Deals 2 damage to each opponent. Then this ability triggers once each turn. Control enters. Okay. So it doesn't have to be cast. So if we run cards like Not Dead After All, you get this effect again and again. We get a slightly worse version of Massacre Worm. I mean, it's a lot less mana, so like I could get it. But it is basically just a Massacre Worm. It can become stronger, and the Death Touch plus some stats is cool. In terms of it as a commander, though, limited by villains, limited by villains entering. D tier. Daredevil, Manuel Fear. For 2, a red and a white, we had 3/4 Vigilance and Haste. Look at the top card of your library at any time. Attack, exile a top card of your library. If it's a hero, gets a stat boost, and you could play that card this turn, either way. So it doesn't have to be a hero. So that's always nice to see. You know what you're going to be exiling before you exile it, because you get the look. So that's nice to see as well. You could also Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds, Cityscape Leveler is a creature. Vibrant Cityscape, that's the one I'm thinking of. In order to shuffle your deck down, that's what I'm trying to get at. In terms of how good that is, you do still have to spend a mana. It's basically a little bit of draw power. Not often, but you do get it at instant speed you do get it pretty fast because he does have haste. I do like this commander. So, like, I feel like my own personal preference is putting it at low C. Following up, though, we had Doc Samson, Super Psychiatrist. For 4 in the green, we had 3/6, where if you put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, put that many +1 instead. You also tap him in order to add X mana of any one color, where X is his power. So, cost 5 to get him on the board, but he taps for 3. In terms of how fast we're getting it is a tap ability, but we'll probably have boots at some point. Maybe we'll have a Hardened Scales and the Oslo Shattered Spire. And we'll be doing pretty good there. And we'll be able to power him up. In terms of getting the power on him, though, we could get him pretty powerful. And that could be a lot of mana. So, I think just how much mana that could be, we could put him in the C tier. Next up, though, we have Dr. Doom. For 4 and 2 black, we have Dree, where when Dr. Doom enters, create. Anyway, though, Dr. Doom, and then as long as you control an artifact, creature token, artifact creature, or plan, Dr. Doom has Indestructible. And I mean, if your end step, you get to draw a card and lose a life. So basically a better version of Phyrexian Arena with that last line attacks, which we always like to see, a slightly better version of Phyrexian Arena, because this time we don't have to wait to go around. So we like to see that. Sorry, I keep having to repeat this card, because things to do in the background. Anyway, though, having an indestructible Dree that can keep on creating Doom bots, because you keep on having ways to recur it every time you get to sacrifice it, maybe have a sacrifice outlet, and a way to give it Undying, or a way to give it Persist and Undying, and you get infinite robots. I don't know if there's actually a way to do that, but either way, seems like a solid A tier to me. Next up, we have Echo, Perceptive Prodigy, Vigilance, 1/4 for 2 and a blue. You pay 1 and tap it in order to copy target activated or triggered ability you control from a creature. Choose new targets. So we could copy our enters abilities, copies our attack abilities, copies our end of turn abilities, start of stand phase. Not standby phase, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Start of upkeep, start of first main phase. All really good effects, all essentially giving us a Strionic Resonator or Peter Parker's Camera. But those are 2 mana and 1 mana and don't have summoning sickness. So that is the payoff you have for that. And then I don't think either of those are limited to just creature types. Might be. I might be wrong. But either way, still solid C tier. Next up, we have Electra, Daughter of the Hand. For 2 and 2 black, we get 3/3, or for 1 and 2 black, we get to sneak her in. And when she enters, destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. She's a fun commander because, like, it's fun trying to get your opponent's creatures to power 3 or less by putting -1/-1 counters on them with all the new, like, Blight cards or, like, Wither cards from, like, older sets. So those are cool. In terms of how strong she is, though, as much as I enjoy her as a commander, I do have to admit she's D tier. It's limited removal, and that's about it that you're getting in the command zone there. Following up, though, we have Falcon, Winged Warrior. For 4 in the blue, we get 3 forward flying, where when he enters, we get Red Wing, a legendary 1/1 blue bird scout creature token with flying. And when Red Wing attacks, you get to surveil one. Okay. No, we can't create multiple Red Wings. So that's a downside. I don't like that. Stat line's mediocre. The surveil is okay. I mean, you only do it once per turn. You only have access to blue, so you don't exactly have extra combat tricks. In terms of what we're doing with it, though, we have enough ways to power up flyers, I guess. In terms of like how much you're actually running it, enough for it to go to F tier in our book. Next up, though, we have Fin Fang Foom. For 2 and 2 red, we have 3/5 with flying, where whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets an artifact or land, copy that spell, choose new targets for a copy, put 2+1/+1 counters on them. Okay, so I really enjoy this card. I think Landfall is definitely a strategy, not one I enjoy playing against, but one that I do admit is a strategy that we don't see many things printed for anymore. And definitely not like commanders printed for them either. So seeing something that like lets you do that, it also works well in like a lot of like other decks. Like you run this in like Kibo, and it works really well. Or just it's like a good piece of artifact removal. This way your Vandal Blast could like doesn't have to be overloaded every time. I don't think you'd run it in every deck. I think you'd run it in like artifact hate deck. In terms of itself as a commander, though, I think having access to like destroying multiple lands, because like that's the thing you run into with land destruction is that like, oh, I destroyed just this one player's land, and I'm doing a little bit too much king making. But this lets you target multiple people, putting it into the B tier. Next up, we have Ghost Spectral Septur. For 2 in either black or blue, we have 2/2 with flash and can't be blocked. Meaning that we just have a 2/2 for 3 mana that can't be blocked. I don't know, think you'd exactly want to flash us in. That wouldn't really do much for us. In terms of that ability, though, not being able to be blocked is very nice. I very much enjoy that effect, but I think it is still F tier worthy, given how many like strong things we have for the set that we'll be getting to soon. Next up, though, we have Grim Reaper, Lethal Legionnaire. For 3 in a black, we have 3/4, where whenever he attacks, you get to pay 3 in a black, and when you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking with a finality counter on it. Okay, so it's not exactly limited removal, but it's semi-limited because you want to not revive something with an attack trigger. And you also can't sacrifice it for like other things. Let's say that thing that says like you can't counters can't be put on creatures, but even still, like this is a worse. Nah, trying to decide like, do I like this worse or more than Zombify? Like, cause it has the same like not stat line, cost. I think it's like slightly worse, but that's my own opinion. It's D tier still because it's still like high D, because it is still like recursion. It's still a pretty good effect. Just a little bit pricey. Next up, though, we have Hawkeye, Master Marksman. For 1 in a red, we get 2/2 with first strike and reach. And then whenever Hawkeye becomes tapped, you get to pay 1 up to 3 times. Interesting. So we want him to become tapped, but he has first strike and reach, which are both very defensive like words more so than anything. Okay, nope, just curious. He has But the abilities you choose are net. Target creature can't block this turn. Okay, so another reason we'd want to attack. It triggers with his Trick Arrows ability. Hawkeye deals 2 damage to target player. Okay, so we're dealing 4 damage. Or discard a card, then draw a card. Okay, a little bit of draw power. Just like Hawkeye and a lot of media. D tier. Like, not F tier. Give him that much. Following up though, we have Hellcat, Undying Vigilante. For 2 green, we have 2/2 with haste, where whenever Hellcat dies, return her to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on her without this ability and with haste, but keeps her haste, essentially. So if we run Hardened Scales, we get an additional counter. Then we double up those counters with Doubling Season, and all of a sudden we have a 4/4 for 2 mana with haste. Oh boy, our opponent won't know what to do with it. What opponent has to do is run Path to Exile, Source of Plowshares. In terms of like this, I think it's solid F tier. Hercules, Prince of Power. For 2 and a green, we had Dri. We had 4 in green for power ability. Put a +1/+1 counter onto Hercules. Gains Vigilance, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. Okay, I don't like that part. Had me up until the last line. So essentially, he's a 4/4 for 5 mana that temporarily has a couple good keywords. F tier. Hulk, Gamma Goliath. For a red and a green, we have 6/5 with Reach and Trample. And power abilities of other creatures you control cost 3 less to cast. Okay, so activate, not cast. So this is really good. We could fun for those power up type of decks. Which I do like the fact that we get a commander for those. Similar to how we got good commanders for speed, but there just weren't that many good like speed mechanics or just power ups. It's also isn't that great of an ability. In terms of himself, he is an 11/10 essentially, thanks to his own power up ability for 8 mana now, which is pretty good stat line. And that has some cost reduction. I could say E high D, but I'm thinking mid D, low C. Following up though, we have Hulkling, Burgeoning Bruiser. For 2 and a green, we have a 2/3 with Vigilance, and whenever another creature you control enters, power and toughness greater than Hulkling, put a +1/+1 counter onto Hulkling. Why don't we just give it Evolve? Okay. Interesting take on that. Because that is basically just Evolve's wording. Anyway, but he's a creature that starts off with an okay stat line that keeps on getting stronger and stronger. Maybe. F tier. He's just a strong creature at the end of the day. It was pretty strong, but just vigilant, not trampling. Strong. Next up though, we have Human Torch, Johnny Storm. For 2 and a red, we get a 2/2 with flying. And whenever you draw a card, if you control another hero, deal 1 damage to target opponent. You draw a card. Okay, so what if we... No, Curiosity's blue, right? Do we have a way to... We have Wheel. We could run this... Sorry, I also put 3 +1/+1 counters on him with his power ability, which doesn't look that useful for this one. We could run like the new Hawkeye Young Avenger plus Torbrand plus Ogier Oxneal and a whole bunch of like draw a card, discard a card, draw 2 cards. That's pretty good. In terms of where we rank it though, it's minimal damage, D tier. Also, just in my opinion, I think D tier and C tier is where most commanders should live. I think it should work like like a standard deviation almost. Found out that we have Invisible Woman, Stu Storm. For 4 and a white, we got a 2/5 with lifelink, and whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on 1 or more other heroes you control, you get 0/4 wall. Okay. This works pretty well in the new Captain America deck, which I like to see. These ones don't have reach. How do we like to see this though? I think... Yeah, we get a lot of tokens though. Like this could easily be a lot of tokens. I think I could see low C. I think low C feels right. Following up though, we have Iron Fist, Living Weapon. 2 and a red for a 2/3, where whenever he casts a spell that targets a creature you control, he gains tap, deal damage equal to his power to any other target. Okay, so this ability doesn't seem strong on the surface. But if you have ways to double up that damage, while you also power up him, like you just run cards like Monstrous Rage, or you're getting like up to 5 damage. Then you double that damage, is already 10 damage. You untap him, that's 20 damage. That's already winning the game. Alright, we won standard. You're welcome. In terms of how strong he actually is, though, I think he is very much overlooked. I think he deals a lot of damage. I think his effect is very easily repeatable with how many ways you have to tap and untap cards. So, I think C tier feels right. Following it up, we have Iron Lad, Diverging Destiny. For 2 and a blue, we have 2/2 with Flying Vigilance. The top card of your library at any time. Okay. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's an artifact, draw a card. Okay, so effectively he's helping us draw into artifacts if we have them. And similar to Iron Fist, we have ways to tap, untap, tap, untap. Which we have that one card in blue that like pay 1 blue to tap and untap it. I forgot the name of it though. I could see this is like a good amount of draw power. I think C tier feels fitting. Iron Man, Master of Machines, Flying Vigilance, +1/+0 for each other artifact you control. Whenever he attacks, if an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Okay. I'm trying to think if this one might get A's here, because I'm thinking like what else we have coming up. Maybe. I don't see it. Yeah. I think we could put this in A tier. So we have a really strong creature. Basically as strong as many Adopters you get with blue, as many treasure tokens as you get with red. And then you get to draw a card. And we're going to draw a lot of cards, because, we take extra combat spells on top of that. Touch into a flying vigilant creature. In terms of how strong it actually is, so we're probably not running the extra combat spells. But getting to, he could get really strong. I think I could see. None he can beat tier still. A strong creature that draws cards. Even low B, high C, I think, though. I could see. Yeah, no C. I think it's a little bit of a Timmy card now I'm reading it more. Anyway, Ironheart, Clever Champion. Clever girl. For 4 and a blue, we had 3/4 improvise, meaning that it's basically 1 blue mana as long as we have enough artifacts. Flying, non-creature spells you cast have improvise. So here's the thing. I really enjoy the cards that give just random spells, convoke, improvise, not connive. Cascade? Yeah, Cascade's also a fun one. Thinking of the other one, I can't think of the name now. But being able to cast almost all of your spells just for free. So he also doesn't say non-creature, non-artifact spells. So you just get an artifact, tap your artifacts to get more artifacts. You're basically paying for your soul rings with your soul rings. Solid A tier. Solid B tier. Once again, we could always move things up from B tier to A tier later, which we might. Following up though, we have Jennifer Walters. For 1 and a white, we had 2/3, where your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Really good ability. Just right off the bat, that's a good ability. Being able to control when your opponents play the game. But then for 3, a green and 2 white, we get She-Hulk. Sorry, the Sensational She-Hulk. A 6/6 with reach and trample. Your opponent can't cast spells during your turn. And whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, you have the Sensational She-Hulk deal that much damage to any target. Only once each turn. I'm glad they did a whole bunch of once each turn and not once during your turn only, because that makes these cards actually even better. Because if we have a fight spell that we fight our opponent during their turn, we have ways to make sure when we block, we're dealing the damage. It's also she's dealing the damage, they're not losing health. So we still get to benefit off of the lifelink. Also, just being a 2/3 in standard right now, with not being able to have your opponents cast their spells during your turn, really good. I like that there. Solid A tier for me. I just like that ability to have a fight spell super much. Anyway, Jessica Jones, 2 in a red. For a 2/3 that taps, put a stun count onto her. Exile top X cards of your library, where X is her power. Play those cards this turn. So if we run a whole bunch of equipments, put all those equipments onto her, buff up her stat line, we'd exile our entire deck in 1 turn. But we don't have access to Laboratory Maniac. We don't have access to Death's Oracle. She also only does it every other turn. You are getting a lot of card advantage because you're basically getting a whole bunch of cards off the top of your deck. I think I could see C tier. I think because low C, high D. Sounds right. Final out we have Justice, Vance Astrovic. 2/2 with flying for a 2 and a blue, where when he enters, return up to one target non-land, non-token permanent to its owner's hand. And whenever another non-land permanent you control is returned to its owner's hand, you get 1/1 counter. So he's in blue. We have plenty of ways to blink him for blue. Which is going to make it so that we could basically bounce our opponent's entire board. We could also bounce our own entire board and get him up to a lot of power and have him fly over for a lot of damage. I don't think we're doing that too often now. Is like temporary removal of all of your opponent's board. It's a Cyclonic Rift worth C tier, essentially. Cyclonic Rift if it didn't have like the overload ability. I think it's still pretty okay. I think C tier works. Khazar of the Savage Land. For 4 and a green, yeah, draw 2, low top card library at any time. Play lands on top of your library. And when he enters, get Zabu, a 2/2 cat token with landfall, getting counters onto it. Okay, so being able to play lands from the top of your deck puts it over F tier, definitely. You don't get to play an additional land, you just get to play the same land. Plus one counter synergies are there for Zabu. Zabu. So we get a really strong creature that doesn't have trample. I think that's a solid D tier. I could see C. So like high D, low C. Anyway, though, we have Kang the Conqueror. For 2 and 2 blue, we have a 4/5 of flying. You pay 5 and 3 blue, so 8 mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on Kang. Take an extra turn after this one. You can't use power up abilities during that turn. Okay. So if we run this with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, we could give everything the power ability. All we need is 1,000,000 mana in order to do it. We have no way to like reduce that. Well, we have what's it called? Training Grounds reduces it by 2. It's like 6 mana for an extra turn. And a 5/6 to go with it. I think an extra turn is very good. I think that could see low B. Yeah, I think low B, high C. Just because it's one extra turn. But oh wait, you could blink them and like do it again, like during your next turn. Never mind, you're good. Kang, Temporal Tyrant. For 2, a blue and a black, you get 3/4. When he enters, you connive. Draw your second card each turn. Each opponent loses a life. You gain a life. You're sitting pretty. Drawing extra cards each turn. Second card each turn, so it's not during our turn. So if we give our opponent a Howling Mine, and then we have what's that? Sphinx, Consecrated Sphinx, I think it's called. The Game Changer one, or is it still a Game Changer? I think so. Should be. That's a lot of card draw, and that's only needs 13 times around the table in order for us to win the game. If we run this with like Psychosis Crawler, I think that's pretty good. He also makes it like able to like get your second card draw, so that puts it into like mid C. Final update: we have Kid Loki. Each creature you control that had 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it this turn has hexproof, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter onto Kid Loki. Okay, so if we have a way to proliferate at instant speed, we could basically give all our stuff hexproof at instant speed. It's not limited by them being heroes like the Captain America card. It is limited by being mono blue and wanting +1/+1 counters, so that's a little bit of a downside. All it does is offer protection, and I think that's a D tier. Next up, though, we have Killmonger, Scourge of Wakanda. For 2, a black and a green, we get a 3/3, where when he enters, sacrifice another creature, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls, And if there are two or more creature cards in your graveyard, it's +2/+1. So he is a piece of removal that gets us a 5/4. Are we paying 4 mana for that? I really like Killmonger. But in terms of like the MCU, one of the coolest villains. In terms of card, D tier, maybe F. No, he's similar to Elektra. Yeah, we'll put him wherever Elektra was. That's D tier. Following up though, that's kind of cool that they're alphabetically ordered. King T'Challa for 1, a blue and a white. We get a 3/2 with flash, and whenever player draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. Oh, that's whenever a player draws their second card, so it counts us as well. Oh, that's actually kind of funny. But you also pay 4, a white and a blue to transform him into Black Panther. Hope Enduring. 3/3 with flash double strike, prevent all damage that will be dealt to Black Panther. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So both have really good draw power. I think I'm more so going for the front side, my personal opinion. You do get to draw 2 cards though with his reverse side. He does have to deal to a player. So move downside. We had to find a way to make him unblockable. Is he top 5 material? He might be. I'm going to put him in top 5 temporarily, but we'll see. Just because, like, being able to draw a card during each of your opponent's turns, just by, like, giving them, like, a Howling Mind type of effect, really good. But that's about all it does. But then also being able to, like, have a strong creature with, yeah, no. B tier is more fitting. It's a lot of card draw, but that's all it is. Following up though, we have Claw, Sonic Subjugator. Isn't this also Black Panther, right? Whenever Claw enters, target player reveals the number of cards in their hand equal to 1 plus the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Choose one, that player discards that card. It's when he enters. Okay, if this was enters or attacks, I could see D tier, but in its current position, that's an F tier. And when one player discarded 1 card of your choice. If this was Yu-Gi-Oh, that'd be really good because they hate hand knowledge. Anyway, now we have Leader, Super Genius. For 2 and 2 blue, we get a 1/3. If a creature you control would connive, instead you draw a card, then you connive. To begin combat on your turn, target creature you control connives. Okay, I love it when creatures have ways to get their own abilities going. Only thing is, conniving is such like a rare ability in terms of like getting it, especially in mono blue. If you had access to like blue black, I could see high C, but currently mid C, still being able to get his own ability going, still getting some good draw power. Finally up though, we have Loki Laufeyson. For 1 and a red, we get 2/1, pay 1, tap. Next, cast an instant sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Loki's power this turn. Copy that spell. Okay, so if you cast a 1 mana spell or a 2 mana spell, an extra lightning bolt. Pay 4 in a red, put 2 +1/+1 counters onto Loki, making him into a 4. So you could start getting some draw power spells. It's cool. It's a tap ability. I mean, we have ways to untap. Copying your spells could be pretty good, especially with other ways to power them up. I mean, we're in red, so we have plenty of ways. Is it worth? I think this is worth C tier still. Copying spells is still really worth it. We have Loki up next, in case you missed him. Whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of an ability you control, draw a card. Only happens once each turn. Are we running mono? Oops. Are we running mono blue equipment? Is that what we're going for? It has to be specifically an ability, so like that's the first thing I think of. What else could we do? Could we use? No, it's only once each turn. So I was gonna say, could we run like that one that like Spectral Thief, the one that goes infinite with Peregrine Drake? You have to draw 1 card, sometimes maybe. That's a D tier. And next up, though, we have Luke Cage, Power Man for 3 and a white. We had 2/5. Attacks alone gets +2/+0 and indestructible to end the turn. So 4/5 with indestructible when he attacks alone only. That's a F tier. And we have Modok, or Modok. For 3 and 2 black, we have a 2/2 with flying and lifelink. Pay 3 life to have him connive, but only during our turn. Still at instant speed though, which is still pretty cool. And creatures your opponent's control get -1/-1. Mean that you basically get over their token decks entirely. Terms how he is as his commander though. He has to be more than just a token remover. I think the connive is pretty cool. I think he serves better as a support piece for a lot of the other villain commanders. A lot of the other villain commanders are like, oh, when a villain you control connives, do something. And he is a villain that likes to connive. But in terms of on his own, you can easily get yourself down to 1 life and swap your life total for like a Mr. Negative deck. But once again, every time I think of like what he could do, I think about like what he could do as a support piece. So that's why we have him in C tier. Next up, we have Madam Hydra. Whenever you cast a villain spell, get a 2/1 black villain creature token with Menace. We don't have to have it enter, we just have to cast it. Gets us villain tokens, which helps us get some other effects of stuff that says when a villain you control enters, which we like to see those. And that's a Menace, which is pretty cool. Limited by you having to cast villains, though. I think she is one of the better villain commanders, though. I think we could see her in C tier. I might move her down to D, but probably won't remember because it's 300 commanders. Next up, though, we have Madam Mask. 4 and a black for 3/2, where she enters, you get a connive. We like to see it. And enjoy your second card each turn, get a 2/1 villain creature token with Menace. So I'm going to move Madam Hydra down to D. I think I'm going to move her up to... Actually, I can even move her up to B tier. Because we're going to be drawing our second card each turn multiple times. That's not just during our turn. No. Mid-C. Getting 2/1 villain tokens is going to be really useful. But she is still monocolor, so like you don't access like every villain. So following up, though, Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. When we get our tokens, we get to draw a card. Not limited to once per turn, which is pretty good. So if we have like a way to get like just a bunch of tokens, like maybe a bunch of adopters, we could draw a lot of cards, which is cool. Merfolk tokens with a new Namor card. In terms of how he is as his own commander, I could see more as a support piece for like other token decks. But yeah, I could see C tier. Not limited by the type of token, so that's always good to see. Then we have Mr. Hyde. Okay, for some reason I thought we did Mr. Hyde. I'm thinking of Samson. But at the beginning of your upkeep, choose one. Put a 1/1 counter onto Mr. Hyde. Okay. Remove a counter from a creature you control, such as that 1/1 counter you put on Mr. Hyde. You get to draw a card. Okay. You had to wait a turn in order to draw one card. If you have a counter on something, maybe. If not, he's a Dre that you have to wait another turn to draw a card for. I think that's a D tier, maybe F. No, that's F. I know it's draw power. Normally draw power, I'm just like, oh, that's instantly C tier for like previous videos. But we gotta be a little more stricter on this one. Next up, though, we have Misty Knight, Hero for Hire. For 1 and a red, we had 3/1, where we paid 2 and tapper. Discard a card, draw a card for each card you discard this turn. Okay, so you're getting him crazy for putting this into B tier. But hear me out. You're in mono red. Mono red loves to wheel. They love discard a card, draw 2 cards. Discard a card, draw 2 cards. Wheel of Misfortune, Wheel of Fortune, if you could afford it. All those types of effects, even the new Clive from Final Fantasy that was last year already. Wow. And then you basically get to draw a whole new hand every time, and you get to discard a card, draw more cards, and you basically get through your entire deck at a certain point. In terms of how strong she actually is, though, like you run her with what was that one from Aether Drift? Deals damage anytime you discard a card. Anyway, cards like that, there's a few of them. Putting her into B tier for us. Mockingbird, Ace Agent, a 2/2 with double strike for green or white. And whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter onto Mockingbird. I feel like I've seen something like this before. Isn't that right? Except worse? Better? At least she has double strike? She has no keywords. Interesting. The bird hero's not flying. Interesting. I guess she's not the bird hero. I guess Falcon is the bird hero. F it up. Mole Man, Moloid Master. Playing lands from your graveyard, already a great start. 1/1 for 2 in the green. And whenever land you control enters, get a 1/1 green minion creature token named Moloid. Not legendary, good to see. And when its token attacks, you get to mill a card, meaning that we get to have more cards in our graveyard to play from our graveyard. Do we put that into B tier? No. I think still C. Just because you don't have a way to get like all of your lands back. If you did, then yes. But no. Say here, like, in fact, like sacrifice 5 Moloids, something like that. I don't know if that's within his character though. Final up though, we have Monica Rambeau for 2 and a white for a Druid of Flying and Prowess. You also pay 2, a red and 2 white. Transform her into a Photon, Living Light. Flying Hexproof Prowess, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Okay. We have ways to get extra counters on top of our counters. Basically giving all of our creatures prowess, but better. This plus something that makes a lot of tokens, plus Kadar's Crusade. So you get the tokens from Photon, tokens from that thing, tokens from Kadar's Crusade. You're sitting pretty. She's also flying on top of all that. You have access to whites, you have access to token doublers. I think she's a solid A tier commander. Yeah, A tier feels right. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, it's on turn, this becomes a 6/6 dinosaur. Artifact you control enters, draw a card, only once each turn. So you're mostly going for that second effect. It's once each turn, so not during just your turn. So at least you get a little bit of draw power. That's nice to see, right? I mean, you have plenty of ways to give your artifacts flash. So plenty of ways to do it during your opponent's turn. It's just very easy to remove. I think I could see high D, low C, but I'm going to put it in high D. Just because it's a good amount of draw power at each turn. It's not that hard to like get the flash going for your artifact spells. Next up, though, we have Moonstone, Harsh Mistress, of Durian of Black for a 2/4 flying. And whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card, and you can play it this turn. Yeah, just okay. A little bit of card advantage. Only played this turn, but like it's similar to like a lot of other cards that are pretty good. So D tier feels right. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, 2 in the blue for a 1/4 with Vigilance Reach. No maximum hand size. That's kind of funny actually. And whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, someone's cast a spell, okay. So on turn, Miss Marvel gains base powers equal to the number of cards in your hand. We don't have maximum hand size. That's cool. So basically, have a strong creature. That's about it. I get that she's more like you run a whole bunch of things that'll be like, oh, target creature's unblockable, but then she's just a Vigilance Reach unblockable strong creature. No, that's just F tier for me. Namor, the Submariner. Powers equal to the number of merfolk you control. Then cast a non-creature spell, 1 or more blue mana symbols. Get that many 1/1 blue merfolk token. He's an X4 essentially. The thing I really like about him is the fact that you don't need to run any other merfolk in the entire deck, and he does really well. You could run a deck that has 60 counter spells. I'm not saying that I speak from experience, but I may. And Namor Submariner. And then like a couple other cards that maybe like draw you cards or something. Or ramp. That's always fun. But in terms of his placement, like aside from personal bias, I think low B, high C. I think it is very self-starter, very like easy to deal a lot of damage to your opponent, and easy to get in your opponent's way a lot of times. Next up, though, we have Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 1 white, we have 2/1 with Power Up Wooburg. Put 2 +1/+1 counters onto him. Top 7, put a hero, equipment, or vehicle onto the battlefield. If it's double face, transform it. Rest on the bottom. Be cool if we got all of them. You basically get a free hero spell. It's always cool when they do like this one is where you put all of your heroes. Like I liked Cosmic Spider-Man, that's where you put all your Spider-Man. Nick Fury, that's where you put all of your heroes. Like you have access to all 5 colors in order to make sure you're doing it for everyone. In terms of how good he is though, it's pretty expensive to get just 1 card on this board. Especially since a lot of them are less than 5 mana. But having access to 5 mana, put into B tier. Sounds about right. Night Nurse, Healer of Heroes. 1 and a white for a 2/1 flash lifelink. When she enters, choose target permanent card in your graveyard. Put there from anywhere this turn. Turns your hand. Bad recursion. F tier. Okoye, Dora Milaje Leader. For Dree and a white, we get 3/2. Enters, get 2 1/1 soldiers, and your tokens get first strike when they attack. I don't like it when they're just like, oh, only during your turn they have first strike. Like, why? Like, why can't I just have first strike? I feel like that's an okay thing to give them. Maybe not for like draft, but not for not draft. I think you're fine. I think giving your tokens like first strike is pretty useful, but like since it's only during your turn, D tier. Next up, we have Patriot, Shield Warrior. 1 and a white, we have 2/2, and tap. In order to give another creature hexproof. That's only 1 creature this time. That's F tier. Following that up, we have Quake, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, tap target creature or land. Can we do mono white Spellslinger, tap all of your opponent's stuff down? Is this that guy from X-Men Evolution? The one where like they're in high school? And he's part of this, not Sinister Six, whatever their name is. The Brotherhood. It's temporary removal, but it's a lot of temporary removal in theory. I like it as D tier. I don't know why. I probably should put it in F tier, but I'm putting it in D tier. Quicksilver, Brash Blur, a 1/1 with haste. That gets a +1/+1 counter on him and double strike counter onto him. For 5. So you're basically getting a 2/2 with double strike for 5 mana. Assuming you get him on the battlefield for free. Which you're not, because he's in the command zone for this theory. F tier. I don't like that card at all. I think he would have been okay in like a previous meta for like standard, but Saint Red's in right now. I don't think they necessarily need him. Next up, though, we have Red Guardian, Super Soldier. This flash 2/2. Whenever he enters, destroy target creature an opponent controls that dealt damage this turn. Okay. So it's either your opponent's blocker or your creature they swung with. They don't need to deal damage to us. They just need to have dealt damage this turn. It's bad removal. F tier. Now we put Electra in D tier. He'll go in D tier too. Red Hulk, 4 and 2 red for a 6/7. Reach Trample. Whenever Red Hulk is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter onto him, and he deals damage equal to the number of counters on him to any other target. So this is one I overlooked at first. This is one of those commanders where I'm just like, oh, like it's just another strong creature. It'll just keep on getting stronger. But being able to deal that damage to your opponent's creatures or their face, and you're doubling it, or like doing extra, really good. Is it like A tier good? No. It's a solid mid-C. Like, it's removing all of your opponent's stuff. Really easy to do, especially with so many different ways to deal 1 damage to him. Yeah, solid C. Reptile, Dinomorpher. A 1/2 for 1 green. Sorry, for just a green. Until end of turn, he becomes a dinosaur hero with base power on his 3/5 for 3 mana. Okay, Vigilance and Reach. Until end of turn. Interesting. Until end of turn, becomes a dinosaur hero, 6/6 with Trample. Are we paying 6 and a green for our Colossal Dreadmaw? Is that a temporary Colossal Dreadmaw? I guess. He's a hero, so that's something going for him. but it's not a dinosaur. F. I want my Colossal Dreadmaw to stay on the board. I don't want to have to pay for Colossal Dreadmaw every turn. Rick Jones, Destined Sidekick. For 1 green, you get 0-3, pay 3, tap, mill 4 cards, put a hero or enchantment card from among them onto your hand. Some recursion. Bad though, because you have to pay 3 mana to do it. He's definitely an uncommon. Solid F tier. There's a lot more in F tier than I thought I probably should be putting there. But it's our list. We decide what happens. Ronin, Shadowstalker. Pay 2 life, add 2 mana of any 1 color. Cast equipment spells, only once each turn, but that's during any player's turn, so if we have a way to give our artifacts flash, we're doing a good job. We have to sacrifice an equipment in order to remove one of our opponent's creatures. Mostly here for our first line text. A mono black equipment commander. Definitely a really interesting concept. Just not many good equipments for him is a downside. So while I do want to put it into like low B, because it's like really easy to get like those mana, and he's gonna go in high C. Scientist, Supreme Evading of for blue and a black, we get 2/2. Pay 2 life, copy target, activate a triggered ability from an artifact source. Choose new copies. Only during your turn, only once each turn. So definitely a lot faster than Echo. But limited by being artifacts. But also like doesn't have to be non-creature artifacts. Could just be like our Solemn Simulacrum getting us 2 lands instead of just 1. Could be what's that name of that card? That they just reprinted for 2 and a blue. That's an artifact. I can't remember the name of it, but it has Iron Man on the art. I know that much. But being like synthesizer, synthesoid synthesizer, something like that. Anyway, I think he's a solid B tier. You have access to like multiple colors. You have access to copying your activate triggered abilities. You do it really fast. You don't need to wait a turn. I like to see it. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. 1 and a green for 2/2. Activate abilities of creatures you control as though they had haste. And add 2 mana of any 1 color, only activate abilities. Okay, so that's a good line of text. Being able to use your stuff at instant speed. Not instant speed, at haste speed. In terms of how good he is as a commander, though, really good. You get your elves all to tap for mana right away. You'd be an elf commander, or you just go on your elf deck. I think he's a solid B tier. I don't see like running him like out on his own too often. But definitely solid there. And then following up, we have She-Hulk, Jade Defender. For Drain and Green, we had a 4/4 Reach and Trample. They pay 4 and 2 green in order to destroy up to 1 target artifact and put a +1/+1 counter onto her. So 5/5, destroy target artifact enchantment. F tier? No, it has removal on it. I'll put it into D tier. The D tier and F tier could like have some pretty easily like interchangeable things. Anyway though, Shuri, Wakandan Inventor. 1 in a blue for 2/1. Artifact spells you cast have cost 1 less to cast. And you pay 1 and tapper in order to have target artifact you control become a copy of a second target artifact you control. Except it isn't legendary, so maybe you have a second whatever that card I just said earlier was, because it would actually benefit from having multiples. Maybe it doesn't have to be non-creature artifacts, so it's any artifact. So maybe you get like another construct that'll finish off the game for you, like one of Urza's constructs. Maybe you get a second Soul Ring. Always good to see. Anyway, I think that's a solid C tier. Construction, get a free Soul Ring, then copy your Soul Ring. Speed, Young Avenger for 1 in a red. We get 2/2 with haste. Then you cast a non-creature spell, pay 1. Target creature with haste can't be blocked this turn, except by creatures with haste. And almost unblockable for maybe some creatures if you have them. F tier. Speedball, New Warrior. For 2 in either red or blue, we get 2/2. Where whenever a player casts a spell that targets Speedball, gets +2/+2 to end the turn, and choose new targets for its spell. Okay, so this is one where I was just like, oh, this one's gonna be like pretty like fun. Like the instant like I saw this one, then I started building it, and I'm just like, okay, I easily like run out of like stuff to do or like interest in like the commander. So like that might be like affecting my opinion on this one a little bit. Because he effectively just becomes a strong creature, but you have plenty of ways to make him unblockable. You have plenty of ways to storm off with him as well. So like that's good. In terms of his own ability though, sorry, adjusting the screen a little bit there. I think you could see solid C tier, strong enough where he'll be able to get through for a lot of damage. Spider-Man to the rescue. For 2 in either green or white, we had 3-2 with Flash, Vigilance, and Reach. And whenever he enters, you may tap him. If you do, another target non-attacking creature you control gains indestructible. Okay, so we have protection for 1 ding during the turn he enters. F. Spider-Woman, Secret Agent. Enters, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature can't become untapped for as long as you control Spider-Woman. Temporary removal for 1 ding. D tier. Stature, Size Shifter. It looks like from My Hero, whatever her name was. For 1 blue, you get a 1/1. Can't be blocked if her power is 1 or less. Okay. I don't think we care too much then. Pay X and 2 blue, put X +1/+1 counters onto her. Okay, so we attack, we block. Before damage is dealt, we can use the power up. Interesting. Not like interesting enough where it'll remove someone from the game. Saying it's we have 22 mana sitting around. I think someone will have something to say about that. Yeah, no, solid F tier. Could be strong, but not strong enough to deal that much damage. Storm Windrider, for 1 a green and 2 white, we get a 4/4 with flying. Creatures with flying can attack you or block creatures you control. And then there's another card in Magic that says only creatures with flying can attack. So you're in a good position so that what's it called? Your opponent can't attack you at all. But also, whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more of your creatures, those creatures gain flying. This way they could still swing over your opponent's stuff. It's pretty good like as a lockdown like commander, more so than it is like as like a aggro commander for Storm. The other Storm is very good at beating that though. Not A tier, solid B tier. Nope. Super Adaptoid, 2 mana for an X2. Power is equal to number of legendary creatures you control, which could be quite a bit. Probably not that many because you're colorless. But when he enters or attacks, choose another target creature. If that creature is haste, Super Adaptoid doesn't. Put a haste counter. Same is true for flying, first strike, double strike, dash touch, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. Here's the thing. I think this will be pretty good in Dominus deck. How good is it on its own? Not very. You could save its counters and like put them onto the Ozolith because like that does save any type of counter, not just +1/+1 counters. I think we could put that into solid D tier still though. No, solid F tier. Yeah, that's F. Super Scroll. 1 and 3 black. We have 4 or 5 with flying. Pay 2 in a white, 0 for wall, 3 in a green, +4/+4, 4 in a red, 4 damage target creature, 5 in a blue, target player draws 4. And on 12th day of Christmas, we decide which tier we put this in. The thing is, it does a lot, but it also doesn't do much. It like costs so much to activate its abilities. When I tried building this, it was hard trying to come up with a win con. So C tier, just from my own like personal opinion. Next up, though, we have Swordsman, Sharp Scoundrel. Super Scroll is good in the fact that it is a 5-color commander, though. 1 in black for 2/2. Whenever another villain you control enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature you control. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, it connives, making it even stronger. Interesting. So we're cheating equip costs, but we're only working with villains. But we don't have to. We could just connive with our other creatures. Our villains do like conniving. I think still D tier though. I think in terms, look to use all their effects when evaluating. Next up though, we have Taskmaster, Mercenary Mimic. At the beginning of for 2 a blue and a black, we had 3/5. At the beginning of your first main phase, until your next turn, Taskmaster becomes a copy of up to one target creature on the battlefield or creature in a graveyard, except his name is Taskmaster, Mercenary Mimic. He's a legendary human, mercenary, villain creature. It's a lot of keywords. He is good, because that is a lot of creatures that we could steal. We have access to blue, we have access to black, we have plenty of ways to mill our cells, ways to mill our opponents. It's an A graveyard, so it doesn't have to be ours. It could be our opponent's graveyard. That's a lot of stuff that you're stealing. But they are going to stay there. So you're not really harming your opponent in that many ways. So I think A tier feels appropriate, given that. Thanos, the Mad Titan, that touched lifelink 4/4 for a red, a white, and a black. And you can pay one of each color plus a colorless. And put 2 +1/+1 counters on him. Destroy all creatures that have probably an even mana value because you don't want to destroy him. Sorry, each other creature. Okay, sorry. Just basically get a board wipe for at least half the board. It is a very much flavorful win. I'll give it that. I still have not covered this commander on the channel because I am not a fan of this commander personally. I think he does have like a cool ability with that effect. In terms of it though, like it's a little bit limited in terms of how often you could run it. It's a little bit limited in terms of like being a power-up ability, so you can only use it once. I think solid B tier still though. Just because like it is still a board wipe. No one wants to have be board wipe. The Astonishing Ant-Man up next for a green and a blue. We get a 1/1. And draw a card, put +1/+1 counter on Astonishing Ant-Man. Pay 2 and a green, remove any number of counters from him. Create that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens. I remember when this card was first revealed. You know, like maybe like a week ago at this point, maybe 2 weeks ago even. I was really high on this card. I was just like, oh, this is such a good card. There's gonna be so many counters and so many ends. It's gonna go perfect in my Azori deck. I didn't pull it yet, so I can't say if it will or not. In terms of himself, though, it's gonna be super easy to get a lot of like counters on him because we could run cards like Risk Cards Expertise, draw half our deck, and then he's the strongest creature. Sorry, he's his own stats plus the stats of the strongest creature. Then we draw that many cards. Then we remove all the then we run like a second copy of Risk Cards Expertise, like something similar, Greater Good maybe. When the Greater Good is the one that sacrifices. Lifestream Blessing is the one I'm thinking of. The one that also gains you life. I really like this card still, and I'm gonna put him in B tier. I didn't even see A in all honesty. We could temporarily put him in A. We don't have 5 up there yet. We'll just have to remove one if we find something else, which I think we do. Anyway, Kingpin and Crime. 1/5 would extort for 1 a white and a black. And whenever you attack, you get to pay 2 life. If you do, until end of turn, creatures you control with toughness greater than their power assign damage with their power. He's a Butts Manner. But he also gains you life. So like extort is like a cool flavor win. But also when I want to build a deck, I kind of want to lean into that extort ability. Because I think that's just kind of funny. But also like toughness matters plus life gain. That's a pretty fun strategy. They don't see it very often anymore. Maybe now ever. I think C tier though. Low C, high D. Masters of Evil. Other villains get +2/+1 for 5 and a black for a 5/6. Or you pay 1 in black, discard this card, search library for a planned card, reveal it. I feel like it'd be better not in the command zone. But in the command zone, solid F. I'm not paying 6 mana for an Anthem. Mighty Door, Jane Foster. 1 a white and a blue for a 3/3 with flying. Attacks, exile to 1 target non-token artifact or creature, then return that card to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Whenever an equipment you control enters, you get to draw a card. You blink your equipment in theory with this, and you get to draw cards. If not though, you can still just blink your creatures and get some really good enters abilities, especially since you have access to Elish Norn with this. In terms of how good is she on her own? No, you instantly return a card. And you also exile to 1 other target. Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be one of your cards. that you're blinking. It could be one of your opponent's creatures. This way you can swing in for easy damage. I think that's solid B tier. I like it. I'd see A. Maybe A. Do we want A? No. I like what I have here. So far, no, she's better than Ant-Man. Alright, following up though, we had the Ruinous Wrecking Crew. X a black and a red for a 2/2. X +1/+1 counters. Choose up to X. Destroy some artifacts. Opponent loses life. Draw some cards. Each player sacrifices a creature of their choice. Which, like, the last two are a lot better. Sorry. Last one is a lot better than the rest of them. Yeah. I don't think it's that great of an effect overall, though. I think solid D, low D, maybe F, not F. Scarlet Witch for 2 in a red, we get a 2/3. Instant sorceries with mana value 4 or less costs X less to cast, or X is her power. You just get her up to power 3, and then all of a sudden, everything's free essentially. Super easy for us to get all of our cards on, our spells cast, especially if we have like Electro with her or Brigiri, and we're just spell slinging, so basically casting everything just for the mono red cost at that point. And they're all expensive spells at that, so they're all dealing a lot of work. I think that's a solid B tier. Next up, we have the Sentry Golden Guardian. Flying, Vigilance, Indestructible. Your opponent gets 1/2, except it's named the Void. Has to attack. Really good Voltron Commander. I mean, like, it is kind of just a strong creature. I mean, it could be more, because, like, you could power it up, but on the surface, it is just a strong commander. Ooh, I'm getting tired. So, another, like, 200 to go after this, though. Serpent Society, 1 black and a green for a 3/4 with Death Touch. Ward, get 5 poison counters. No one's ever touching it, unless they have a board wipe. And whenever another creature you control with Death Touch dies, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. So people are freaking out about the ward costing us. I'm more so worried about the third part, because if our Death Touch creature attacks, we're making our opponent block it in some way, shape, or form. And then they lose their creature that blocked it, but then everyone's also losing another creature because they blocked it. And that's just scary. And that's why I think it's solid high B. I could see low A for it even. I would remove. Maybe, I know I really like Captain America, but I think Serpent Society is slightly better. Yes. No, it's limited by, it's limited by just being Death Touch creatures. Back down to B. The Thing, Ben Grimm. 7/7 with Trample. Whenever one or more heroes you control deal damage to a player, get some counters onto the Thing. He's just going to be a stronger and stronger creature, limited by heroes. F tier. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Stampede. Whenever the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl enters or attacks, get a squirrel. Pay some mana. Get a whole bunch more squirrels. Use the squirrels to be sacrificed in order to get more squirrels going forward too, so that you're just getting squirrels in order to get more squirrels because you like squirrels in order to get more squirrels. Is she better on her own, or is she better in a Chatterfang deck? I think she is better in a Chatterfang deck, personally. Just because you have ways to get more squirrels on the board. But she is definitely really good on her own as well, putting her into solid B tier. Next up we have Division. Alright, we're on to T. We're almost done with the alphabet. Only 19 left. Flying Vigilance 2/5. Whenever you cast an on creature spell, choose one. Double strike, indestructible, draw a card. All good words. All just make him into a solid D tier commander. The Wondrous Wasp. Flash, flying 2/1 for 1 and a blue. Whenever she enters, tap up to 1 target creature, loses all abilities as long as you control this card. I mean, it's okay. It's nothing to write home about. It's temporary removal for 1 thing. We've been seeing this all night. Let's put into D tier. Put another thing. Anyway, Dora Odinson. Flying, vigilance, prowess, prowess. So I can see arguments for F tier. So he is just a creature that becomes stronger. He becomes stronger. But he becomes really strong. Prowess, prowess is no joke. And he flies, so you're in a really position to make sure you're dealing with damage to your opponent's face too. In terms of what we're doing now, I think solid D. Thor, God of Thunder. Drawing 2 red for a 5/5 with flying. Enters, exile equipment, instant sorcery from your graveyard. You play this turn, still spend a mana. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal damage equal to that spell's mana to any target, right to your opponent's face. We're going to double that damage, triple that damage, double that damage again, in order to just cast one, 5 mana value spell, or to finish the game. He makes it so you have something to cast, makes it so that you have damage to be dealt. I think it's a solid B tier commander. This works really well. Hawkeye, the new Young Avenger. Following up, we have Tigra, Feline Fury. Flash, Trample. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter onto her. Green isn't that good at gaining life. It's okay. It's not great. It's okay. Solid F tier. Titania, Rugged Rumbler for 2 in either black or green. You could either discard a card or pay 2 extra in order to play this card. Its ward cost is the same. We get a 5/5 with no keywords into the F tier. You can see the bottom. Tony Stark, 1 in a blue. For 1 Dree, look at top 4, add an artifact to your hand. Or, for 4 blue and a red, 5/5, flying haste, cheat any artifact onto the board. Maybe you just have a 20 mana artifact that you just want to get on the board. I think we're sitting good there. What do we remove from A tier to put this into A tier, though, is the question. So it definitely deserves it. We put I could see removing Incredible Hulk. Because he could be a little bit slow. But I'm thinking removing Jane. And adding Tony. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, no, for now. Let's move things at the end. Following up, though, we have U.S. Agent John Walker. Created an equipment token named Sturdy Shield that powers him up slightly, but not strong enough into getting out of the F tier. Ultron, Artificial Malevolence. Whenever another non-token artifact you control enters, pay 2, get a copy of it, except it's a robot villain. Solid B tier. Viv Vision, Teen Synthesoid. Attacks, draw a card if she has power 4 or greater, aka if you use her power ability. That's some good draw power. You repeat it. Solid D tier. War Machine, a Legacy of Iron. A 1 Dree of Flying for 2 and a red or a white. An enemy of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X/+0 to end the turn, or X is War Machine's power, which pretty strong, especially if ways to get counters onto him. Maybe you have ways to get a whole bunch of equipment onto him. Also, he's not limited by just being heroes that you're going to power up. You can power up whoever. So, we'll put him into C tier based on that. 1 second. And next up, we have Whiplash, Vengeful Engineer. For 1 black, we have 2/2 that enters tapped. And when he attacks, if he is equipped, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life. X number of equipment attached to him. And yeah, we could get a bunch of equipment on him, I guess. Can we get enough where it's worth it though? I guess it's still cool to have mono black equipment commanders. I like that. In terms of how powerful he is, though, I think solid D. D feels right. Just because we can't get that many on him, I don't think. White Tiger, Ava Ayala, for 1 and a green, we had 2/2. That we could put a +1/+1 counter onto her. Get a Tiger God legendary 4/4 token that can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Okay. Solid F tier. Yeah, feels right. Next up we have White Widow, Free Agent. Choose 1, counter onto up to 2 creatures, and return an artifact or enchantment from a graveyard to your hand. Some bad recursion, but still recursion. D tier. Wiccan, Rising Magician. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, blink a creature. Well, not blink. It's What's the other one? It goes away till end phase. Um, Still though, it's a lot of creatures that you blink super easily. You have blue, just run counter spells and creatures with good enters abilities, and you're staying pretty in the C tier. High C though, low B. Winter Soldier, Icy Assassin, +2/+0 for each equipment attached to him. Okay, so this is another white black equipment commander. Except better because like you have access to white for like that. Um, I like to see that, and he also attach an equipment you control to him. He can become really powerful. I think he's strong enough to deal enough damage. Think he does lose out by not having toughness. But I don't think he loses out too much. So, solid high C, low B. And then next up we have Wolverine, Fierce Fighter. For 2 a green and a red, we got a 3/5 with haste. Enters, fight out to one target creature. He heals up all damage essentially. Interesting wording on that. Just because like it's like a little bit weird. He's basically removal that like is an indestructible creature essentially. So that's solid D tier for us. Wonder Man, Hollywood hero. He actually other permanent power abilities quite a bit. But limited by the amount of power abilities we have. So much that Hulk card we had. Solid D tier. And Yellow Jacket, Heartless Marauder. For 1 and a black, we have 1/2 with flying. Whenever another villain you control enters, Yellow Jacket gets +1/+0 until end turn and gains lifelink. F tier. We don't have that many villains entering. Alright. So that's our list there for the main set commanders. Let's move on over to the supplemental ones, which is even more. There's so many commanders. And welcome back. We're probably also going to break this up into 2 separate videos. So if that is what we do decide to do, if you guys are watching the second half of that video, definitely check it out. The first part, if you want our explanations for each of the tiers, why we rank them there. But let's get into it card by card for the second half of the commanders. Starting us off, we have Bast, Panther Goddess. For 2 a green and a white, we get a 4/4. With reach, trample, and indestructible, Bast can attack or block unless you control 3 or more creatures. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature is +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. It's specifically when you attack, that stat boost does stick around as well. Really good for us there. We're also have access to green, we have access to white, we have access to plenty of tokens in order to make sure we're making the most of that ability, making sure we get super strong creatures. We have an indestructible trample creature on top of that to make sure that as we're attacking, we deal the damage, and we have a huge creature that won't get destroyed as we do it. So that's why Bast ends up in the A tier. So for the B tier, we have the Danos Copter. And for the Danos Copter, we have a Flying Haste 5/5 for 6 mana. That when it enters, vehicles we control become artifact creatures until end of turn. And whenever a vehicle we control deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. By our specifications, in theory, this should be a D tier commander because it is pretty limited, only affecting really your vehicles. But vehicles have been such widespread like cards pretty recently, being in almost every set that they can be in, that I think it is warranting the B tier there for itself. And that amount of draw power can't be overlooked. For our C tier, we have Absorbing Man in Titania, a 4/5 for 3, a red, and a green, doubling all damage that would be dealt by creature sources we control, whether that's combat damage or non-combat damage. That's a lot of damage that we're doubling up, and we can double up again with some other sources that we may have. But overall, a lot of damage that we're able to deal. So pretty obvious like what we're going for in the command zone, whether it be like big creatures or big plays that we're going to be trying to deal a lot of damage with, that our opponents aren't going to want us to stick around for. So that's why it sits there in the C tier. For our D tier, we have Abomination, Irradiated Brute. For 2 and 2 green, we have a 4/4 trample. Whenever a Gamma or villain you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on Abomination. Really good effect. We definitely have ways to make sure we double up counters in green. The thing that we are missing, however, is gammas and villains in green. We just don't have enough access for them. If we did, I would say probably like high C tier, but currently sitting in a high D tier just because it is limited by that. You do definitely have ways to make things into gammas and villains, but just not enough. And then our final one, we have Abomination, World Ravager, a 10/10 with Menace and Trample with for 7 in red. It's just a strong creature. We can't even use that Mayhem ability because it's on the board. But still, a really good effect in terms of what we're looking to do. And now we'll be going alphabetical order from here on out. Next up, we have Alex Wilder, Runaway. For 1 in a red, we get a 1/3 where when him or another creature you control enter, if he casts it from anywhere other than your hand, it's +2/+0 in haste until end of turn. Yeah, potentially helping out our commanders, helping out himself as a commander. Works well with a Zuko deck, I'd say, pretty well. We also exile 3 other cards from your graveyard in order to this escape. It's a pretty minuscule stat boost, and it's only some creatures and doesn't have way its own plays going, other than for itself, of course. But it is a pretty okay stat boost, warranting a D tier for it. Following up with Alicia Masters, Skilled Sculptor. For 1 in a red, we have 0/4, where at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast a non-creature spell this turn, get a treasure token. That's a maximum of 1 unless we have extra combat spells, which not a wrong possibility, because that could give us a whole bunch of extra tokens, which gives us more mana for more combats, which could turn out pretty well for us. And then she also has that we could, at the end of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own, which we're not exactly giving out gifts to our opponents. It's definitely something we can do, not something we're really trying to do. So I'd say solid D tier, just because the treasure tokens can come in handy quite a bit, and not that hard to get them. Next up, we have Amazing Spider Girl, a 5/4 flying in vigilance for 3 and 2 white or 2 and a white, meaning it's just gonna be a strong creature with some keywords. Right into the F tier it goes. Next, sorry, and also something I forgot to mention is that these commanders we're comparing to the other commanders in this list, not necessarily the ones in the main set, because I think a lot of the ones in the main set are a lot better than some of these. But following up with Ant-Man, Elusive Avenger. For 1, a blue and a red, we have a 1/2, can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, and deals counter damage to player, get a bunch of treasure tokens. It is a bit of a contradiction, because you can't be blocked if you're strong, but you also want to be strong, this way you can get a whole bunch of treasure tokens. But that's why you have to make sure that you activate your instance for powering up this card. This way you do it after the declare blocker step, but before damage is dealt. This way you still get those treasure tokens, and you save up the mana for a future turn. That could be a decent chunk of mana that you're getting now. So, enough more than Alicia to put it into C tier for us. Ant-Man, Reformed Rogue. Whenever you cast a green spell, gets +1/+0 in trample. Cast a blue spell, -1/-0 and can't be blocked. Deals count damage to player, draw a card. Ways to give a double strike if we wanted to. It's not that much draw power though. And he is guaranteeing that he is going to be doing that combat damage. So that's pretty nice there as well. So I think we could see C tier, but I think more fitting for D tier since how limited draw power can be. No way, then again, he makes it super easy to deal damage, so C tier he goes. Following up, we have Ant-Man, Scott Lang, a 2/2 that could put a counter onto himself for 4 mana. Oof, that's a rough F tier for us. Following up, we have the Astonishing Spider-Man, because we didn't have enough Spider-Man. For 2 in either blue or red, we get a 4/4 reach, and whenever he attacks, discard your hand, draw a card for each card you discard this turn. Actually, this is a pretty good Spider-Man. I don't think I saw this one before. That's a lot of cards we could draw. We're basically wheeling. For each card, and that's not. Oh, so if we do actually wheel before we wheel, we could double wheel. And then we have access to Das's Oracle. We have access to Labman. We have access to Triska Decaphile. We have access to Misty Knight. Um, there's a whole bunch of other cards in red that are just like discard a card, draw a card. We have access to Monumental Endurance. I think this could see A tier potentially. We do always reserve the right to move things down tiers or up tiers if things warrant it. Because once again, only 5 things can fit in that A tier for us. Next up, we have Atlas, Sizable Stooge. For 2 in either black or green, we have 5/4 reach. And whenever you attack or block, you gain a life. For each creature you control, power 4 or greater. That could be a sizable chunk of life we gain. Not like a lot, but enough to keep him out of F tier. I think he could go in D tier for us. Next up, we have Batroc, the Leaper. For 1 and a red, we get 2/2 with multi-kicker. Each time he was kicked, enters with X +1/+1 counter each time he is kicked. When he enters, he deals damage equal to his power to up to X targets for X number of times he was kicked. Alright, so it's not super easy to like kick him, is the thing. Effectively, if we kick him like twice, that's already 6 mana for 4/4 that deals 2 damage to 2 targets. But if we think about this in Christmas Land, we kick him 10 times if we have 22 mana up. 10 damage to 10 targets. It's basically a board wipe for all he needs 22 mana. He does more than just be a strong creature. D tier. Next up, we have Big Bertha. For X and a green, we have 1/1 with Vigilance, and so X +1/+1 counters on her. I always get more counters onto her. She's strong. She gets stronger. Not super easy for her to get stronger because you also have to tap her in order to do it, so you have to wait a whole turn. I think that could see, I think higher F than like some of these other ones, but definitely still F tier. Black Bolt, Inhuman King. For 2, a white and a blue, we had Reach Ray Flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, +2/+2 till end of turn, we have access to blue, we have access to Storming Off. Becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls to destroy target non-land permanent player controls. Oof. Okay, that's pretty dangerous. We can get rid of their Soul Ring just because they want to remove our 23/23. That was ready to deal combat damage to them because it flies. No way to draw cards. He does have removal, and he does get stronger creature. I think the removal warrants low C, high D. But we have access to blue, so we have access to plenty of ways to spell sling. So I feel comfortable with C tier there. Black Panther, Claws of Boss, 2 and a white for 3 Druid Lifelink. Their creature control attacks, put a +1/+1 counter onto it. So he's not just powering himself up, he's also powering up your other creatures, which pretty useful, pretty helpful. In terms of how powerful it is though. You have access to like Lae'zel, you have access to Abzan Falconer to make sure that they're dealing the damage, make sure you're getting extra counters on top of those counters. That's actually pretty good. Whenever a creature, so he doesn't have to be the creature to attack. It'd be any of your creatures attacking. I could see C tier. I'm thinking low C, high D. Black Panther, most dangerous. For 2 and a white, we get 3/3. It's dealt damage, deals that much damage to any other target. Oof. That's most dangerous. Put 2 +1/+1 counters onto him. Other creatures you control get +2/+2 to end the turn. I don't really like that power up ability too much. Dealt damage. So it's basically removal on top of being a pretty decently strong creature. He has some indestructible, but we have plenty of ways to give him indestructible. We have ways to redirect our damage to him as well. I think good set of D tier there, like mid D. Next up, we have Black Tom Cassidy. For 1 and a green, we get a 1/3, where we can tap for green mana. If you control another mutant, you also gain a life. Cool. Mana Dork for not a good rate. Plus, maybe you get to gain some life. I would think F tier normally, but because of how many options we have, I think D tier is where he's going to end up. So low D, high F. Black Widow, Agile Avenger for 1 a red and a white. We get a 2/2 with Menace. And whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on her, and you get to draw a card. So all we need to do is put a Howling Mine on the board, and just by going around the table, we'll be able to get her up to a 5/5, and we get to draw 3 cards. I mean, it's not hard to like get that extra draw power, especially because you have access to white. So you have access to like plenty of ways to like play like cut a deal to like help your opponents draw some cards. Secret Rendezvous. I forgot what the name of the card that counts as like a second copy of Secret Rendezvous is. But I can see a solid B tier for the amount of draw power to get alone. Next up, we have Black Widow, Daring Operative. Menace enters, mill 3 cards, deals combat damage. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Alright, so we're in black. We have plenty of ways to mill cards. It's not going to be hard for us. So I'll put plenty of creature cards into our graveyard. What else can we do with this? We give a double strike, making so our opponent takes extra damage on top of that damage, because we like making sure our dealt damage. Good. No way to draw cards, no way to get like card advantage. Ways to deal a lot of damage, and you're in the color to be doing it. I think high C, low B. Think if it was, yeah, no. Oh well, no, she does mill the cards herself. Actually, I was gonna say if she milled cards, we'd be seeing a B tier. Well, 5 mana, C tier. Black Widow, Deadly Hunter for 2 and a black. We have a 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, lose a life. Alright, so it's a little bit more limited draw power. Nothing to like write home about. Number 8 creature. Okay, so she counts herself. I mean, that's a good amount of draw power. I don't know, is it enough to go into B tier? We already have Black Widow up there. Can we put 2 in the same tier? I mean, yeah, no. I think C's here. I think giving a double strike, giving other creatures Death Touch, doesn't really have like a direction it's going in. It's the only problem. Black Widow, Intel Expert for 2 and a white. We agree with first strike. Deals combat damage to an opponent. You and that player draw 2 cards. Why is Black Widow drawing us a card so much? I would not have guessed, like in all honesty. Yeah, that plus that is really good actually. Deals combat damage to a player, an opponent. You and that player each draw 2 cards. So we gave her double strike. It's even more. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know how to rank it because, like, I can't put all the Black Widows into like the C tier, can I? I think, yeah, because it's limited by her dealing combat damage, just like this one. One is dealt by dealing combat damage, but this is like creatures other than just herself. This feels right. I don't know. Quote me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. Next up we have Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Okay, there we go. We have a generic 2/2 that we can put into the F tier. This way, not all the Black Widows are in the same tier. Following up though, we have Blue Marvel, Adam Brashear, flying ward 2, 3/5 for 3 and 2 blue. And whenever he draws his second card, he's trying to put a +1/+1 counter onto Blue Marvel. So he's a strong creature that gets stronger. He is stronger than a lot of the other cards that we're seeing in F tier so far. The Ward 2 does help, I guess. It's blue, so like you at least have that going for you. I'm gonna put D tier for now, but it's like low D, high F. So it's not that far off from like some of our other ones. Well, it's kind of like a combination of Big Bertha and Amazing Spider Girl, I guess. Bob, Reluctant Hydra Agent. He's a legendary creature, huh? For 1 and a black, we have a 2/2. Whenever he attacks alone, return him to his owner's hand. If you do, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Huh. There's a sorcery that does like that. I never like that sorcery. Attacks alone. How about you just deal more damage by having our creatures attack with other creatures? F tier. I know he does more than just be a strong creature, but that's a very bad effect. Boomerang Bladefinger. Attacks, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. We're not even doing a gain life equal to the amount of life lost this way. That's a good amount of damage, I guess. 1. One's a good chunk. Um, it's not enough to go above D tier though. He's just not doing much, just dealing a little bit of damage. Braun, Amadeus Cho, enters, draw a card. Alright, we like to see draw power. For one in either blue or green, and he's a 1/1. Pay 4 in either blue or green, put +1/+1 counter onto him for each card in your hand. So he's a strong creature, gets stronger, but helps us get him stronger by drawing cards, similar to like how Blue Marble does. So we'll put him in D tier like that. Just because he helps himself, makes it easier for us. Bucky Barnes, eager ally for 1 and a white. We had 2/2 with vigilance. Dies, look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal an equipment, hero, or soldier from among them, put into your hand, rest on the bottom. A little bit of what's it called? Help for us there, like draw power, but nothing like to write home about. It's only when he dies, not when he like if it was when he enters. But this is the flavor win by having it be when he dies. Because I think that was the thing that made Captain America decide to become Captain America, if I'm not mistaken. One of the iterations probably somewhere. That's a decent like chunk, but it's limited by what you get into your hand. So I put it into D tier. Bushmaster, Coiled Henchman. 1 in the green, Death Touch, 2/1. Other creatures you control with a +1/+1 counter on them have Death Touch. Helping us boost our other creatures by giving them keywords. That's nice, but still D tier worthy. That's all he does. Doesn't get us any advantage anywhere. Captain America, Liberator, for 3 and 2 white. We had a 5/5, where whenever he enters, you may search your library for an equipment card map value 3 or less. Put on onto a battlefield. Ooh, I like that. And whenever Captain America attacks, for each equipment attached to him, get a 1/1 soldier. Oh. So we play a whole bunch of cheap equipments. Keep on. Oh, and it's when he enters. Okay. So we just search up our entire library worth of cheap equipments, put them on the board, equip them all to him, get a whole bunch of tokens, run some token doublers. Oof. Solid B tier there. Could work pretty well. Astonishing Spider-Man there. It's just like, who's that? Next up though, we have Captain America Skybound. Flying Vigilance, 3/5 for 3 and 2 white. Whenever him and at least 2 other creatures attack, put a +1/+1 count on each of them, and they gain indestructible. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. It's okay that we're surviving combat. That's cool. It's a 1/1 counter, so I guess it stays the buff, which is good. And no, you have to tackle at least 2 more creatures in order to get anything. No, that's D. I was thinking C, but I was just like, no, you might not have the creatures to attack with. Yes, you don't get any birds, despite the art. Captain America Steve Rogers for 3 and 2 white. You get a 4/4 with lifelink. Attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. Gains indestructible until end of turn. Well, in theory, keep on giving the same thing indestructible. Is keep on attacking. In terms of how strong it is, it's not very. It's just limited by him attacking once again. So, another D tier. Captain America Team Leader for a Druidry for red, white, and blue. Whenever another hero you control enters, gains vigilance and haste on turn, put a +1/+1 counter onto that hero and a +1/+1 counter onto Captain America. A lot of your heroes have effects for when they attack. A lot of your creatures want to make sure that you're still blocking despite attacking. He doesn't have much card advantage, but he does have like stat boosts that like stick around. So I think high C, low B, but I like him a lot, so I'm gonna put him into B tier. Captain America Unbound for 3 and a white. We get a 3/4 flash. Enters, soldiers and heroes gain indestructible until end turn. Alright, that's another D tier if we ever see one. Just temporary buff. It seems like D tier worthy. Yeah, it seems D tier worthy. Especially no card advantage. And only limited creature types. Next up, we have Captain Marvel, Apex Avenger for 5, a red and a white. We had a 4/4. Flying double strike indestructible. Put a counter onto another creature. You get those counters on Captain Marvel as well. Not really running Kree, so I don't think you have to worry about that. India, you could just run a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters on your other stuff. This way you get counters onto them, get counters onto her, and you could probably have a way to go infinite with that and get other keywords. Or you could do what we did and just run a whole bunch of keyword counters. This way she gets all those keywords and is dealing a whole bunch of damage, but not really much more because most keywords are double strike, flying, and indestructible. But overall, she is slightly more than a strong creature, so D tier. Captain Marvel's Shooting Star, 5 and 2 white for a 6/6 with flying. Enters or attacks, exile to one target creature. Control gains life equal to its power, so not source of power sharing, path to exiling something. And a creature you control other than Captain Marvel is exiled from the battlefield. You gain life equal to its power. Okay. Oh. So if we have ways to blink her, we could just remove our opponent's entire board and gain a whole bunch of life. We just need like a Rock's Faith Mender and like some other benefits off of like gaining life. We're in a really good position there. And she has ways to like do it herself. All she has to do is attack. A little bit too like expensive to cast to go into B tier. Like she was like 5 mana, I could put in B tier, but at 7, that's a C tier. Next up, we have Chase Stein Runaway. For 1 in a red, we get 2/2. Discard a card, exile top card of your library, and in turn, play that card. A little bit of card advantage. A little bit of card advantage is always nice. I like to see it. Not hard to do. Or in red, we have access to casting stuff from exile. We have access to giving stuff haste. It's card advantage. Card advantage has been C tier. Let's leave it in C tier. I think it's not great. It's low C, high D, just because it's there. Next up, we have Citizen Helmet Zemo. 2/2 with lifelink for 2 in a black. This way, whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on each villain you control. I have not seen a single villain want to gain life so far. What are we doing with the villains? Do we have... I guess he has lifelink. So, like, it benefits your other ones. Yeah. I guess D tier. It's limited by villains, so D tier goes Colossus, Steel Stalwart, 4 and a green. During your turn only, he is indestructible, and other mutants get +1/+1. And he is not a great stat line. I mean, mutants are such like a rare creature type. I feel like F could be warranted. Next up, though, we have Council of Reeds. For 2 in a blue, Legend Rule doesn't apply. And we keep on getting more Council of Reeds anytime we go to combat. Which not hard to do. We just cast a card and then get ready for combat. We have audio ways to clone in blue. This way we're not just getting 1 clone, but we're getting 2 clones into 4, 4 into 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, then all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of 2/2s. That our opponent just board wipes and we're dead in the water. But we have access to blue, we have plenty of access to clones, so we have ways to do again, we have counter spells. B tier feels fitting. Count Nefaria, costs 3 less to cast if you sacrifice a permanent this turn. A 6/6 with flying that you get for 4, essentially. Still F tier. Doesn't change much that he does. Whoops. Then we have Crimson Cal, Master of Evil. Whenever 1 more non-token artifacts you control attack a player, get a 2/1 villain token with menace. I mean, it helps us get more villains on the board, which like a lot of like the villain like decks want to have a whole bunch of villains on the board, so we like to see that. It's good enough. Any more non-token? They do have to attack a player. We have to attack multiple players, so a little bit limited there. But at least this doesn't have to attack, and gets us enough tokens to be warranting the C tier for us. Crystal, Inhuman Princess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of colors in that spell. Which, like, really fun, because you get to just... Sorry, and also get to tap for 1 mana of green, blue, red, white. This way you could cast those spells in the first place. We have access to red, so we have access to ways to double it. We have access to like all four colors that we could like use to cast multiple colored spells. That's a lot of damage. That's a C tier, or low B, high C. I can see either one. That's the thing with having 250 commanders right now, is that like it doesn't really matter. Like I could get a few wrong, and I could still pass the test. Damocles base, Sword of Kang. 4 in the black, 5/5, flying, death touch, deals combat damage to a player. That player faces a villainous choice. Wait, is this a vehicle? This looks like a spacecraft. Anyway, they sacrifice a non token creature for their choice, or they lose 2 life and you draw 2 cards. Okay. It's flying. That's cool. Easy for steal damage. Which does have to deal damage in the first place. I think I could see more so running this one in like a Jin Sakai like style deck, or like a, it's called Squall, Seed Mercenary. But on its own, still pretty strong. I think still warranting a C tier. Next up, we have Daredevil, Fearless Fighter. Source you control will deal damage to you, deal that much damage to the target opponent. Exile a top card of your library, deals damage equal to its mana value to you, and you can play it. You still have to spend the mana. But the fun part is you're dealing some damage to your opponent's face. It's linked by the amount of damage to face, but you could also give it life link. This way, you're guaranteeing that life right back anyway. I feel comfortable with high D, low C. Yeah, sounds right. Darwin, adaptive mutant. Loading see it's indestructible. Yep, I see the word indestructible. Let's see what it actually does. 1 and a green for 2/1 with Evolve. That makes sense. Remove 2 +1/+1 counters from him. Gains indestructible till end of turn. Then all of a sudden, I forgot what the villain's actual name was. I just watched him like eat that thing that made him not be able to be indestructible, despite adapting to anything. Anyway, back to the card. Still bothers me. Mephisto, was that Mephisto? Maybe. A creature that gets a slight power up, sometimes maybe, that gets, I don't know, you draw a card. Drawing card's nice. Oh no, you don't draw a card. Gains indestructible. I noticed it draw a card as well. I was reading Darwin, I think, and I read that as draw. Anyway, Devil Dinosaur. 5/5 with trample for 2 and 2 green. Other dinosaurs get +1/+1 and have hexproof. Really good protection for our other dinosaurs. Really good to get stat boost to our dinosaurs, especially if you're running Galta. Really any dinosaur deck. No dinosaur deck that wouldn't want an Anthem. Compared to these, I think we could see a D tier. No, I think it's multiple benefits. Whereas, do we have anything down here that does quite yet? No, I don't think so. Yeah, no. Ugh. Not getting much in terms of D tier. Anyway, Director Nick Fury for blue, red, and white. Hero spells cost 1 less to cast, and when he attacks among the top 4 of your deck, look for a hero. Add to your hand. I mean, it's good draw power. It's good cost reduction. What can I say? He also doesn't have to be the one to attack. It could be any creature attacking. So that's good there as well. I think it's solid B tier. Like high B too. Even you could see that one going up to A. Doctor Doom, King of Latveria, for 1, a blue, a red, and a black. We had a Druidry where whenever you discard 1 or more lands, 2 damage to each opponent. Beginning of each combat, on your turn, target villain connives and menace. I really like this card because like I built the deck twice on the channel. If what are we doing? All I do is go to combat. It's not going to be hard to like get the effect off or the secondary effect. In terms of conniving, the first effect, like we don't want to discard our lands, but we can because there's plenty of cycle lands. I think, yeah, it's decent card advantage too. Gain a draw power. I think solid B. Doctor Doom Unrivaled. Draw a card, lose a life, and if your library has no cards in it, win the game. A lifelink as well. Winning the game is fun. Who doesn't want to win the game out of nowhere? you have access to some cards that'll allow you to just like deck yourself out instantly. You have Balls of Citadel and just run a whole bunch of 0 mana spells, maybe. You have Ad Nauseum, you have Necropotence, all these things that'll make this into such a good commander. So solid beats here. You don't need to draw cards if you're just gonna win the game. Dr. Jane Foster enters return creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. If you gain life this turn, return to the battlefield instead. And 3 and a white for 2/3. I think this could actually work pretty well in a life gain deck, actually, now I think about it. Because if we run this and we have like one of the Soul Sisters out and they destroyed our other Soul Sister, we could return the other one back to the board. And like it's a good support piece there. In terms of what you're actually doing, I guess you could do something similar and just run a whole bunch of like when this creature enters the game of life and like blink spells to go along with it. And you run like Aetherflux Reservoirs to like win con. Yeah. Solid D tier though. Some actually not some good recursion. Solid C tier. Don't say I never did nothing. Anyway, Doctor Spectrum. Not a doctor. Human doctor, not a doctor. Interesting. Drain 2 white for a flying 3/3. When he enters, get a wall, get +1/+1 counters, or destroy an enchantment. Maybe some removal. Maybe some counters. Maybe the D tier. Too unclear. Doctor Strange Surgeon. For 4 and a white, we had 2/5 with lifelink. And if you gain life, gain twice that much life instead. And being a combat on your turn, if you have at least 10 more life than your starting life total, creatures are +2/+2. We have an extra copy of Rock's Faith Mender all of a sudden. Making it so you can double your amount of life, which is already a great card. Giving a stat boost to your creatures on top of that, even better. Having lifelink so he could do it himself, earning him the C tier. Donald Blake, Guy's the Door, lifelink, 1/3 for 1 and a white, or you pay 4 and 2 white, +1/+1 counters onto him, flying counter, and he's a god. So he's a 3/5 for 6 mana that flies. No, that's F. That's just not good. Dorman, 1 in the green. I watched like most of Wonder Man. I just can't remember what Dorman actually does because like I didn't watch the last like 2 episodes. Anyway, 2/3 for until end of turn. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less and their walls. Helping your creature get a temporary buff is what's been earning places spots in the D tier. Dragon Man, Reformed Robot. For 2 a white or blue, we get a X5 flying. Powers equal to the greatest mana value among non-creature permanents you control and non-creature cards in your graveyard. So if we have Omniscience, this could be a pretty good Omniscience commander, actually. Cast cards from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. But if we have Omniscience, we just discard something that we don't need. Or we just discard Omniscience to make this into a 9/5. Either way, hear me out. Solid C tier for that recursion. Extra Femme Fatale. Have her deal 2 damage to you, 4 damage to target creature. Ooh, some spot removal into the low D, high F. Everett K. Russ, Hapless Attaché. For 2 and a white, we get a 1/3. Commanders you control have +1/+1 lifelink. So we have 2/4 with lifelink. An opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. A little bit of draw power. But your opponent has to attack you. So you don't have to decide. I think I could be D tier, but I could see low D, high C. Do I want to move this Black Panther around? I might. We'll see. Falcon and Redwing. 2 and a white for 1/2 with flying. Deals comment on a show player. Get that many birds. Oh, and then +1/+1 counter onto him. That's a lot of birds. We would go well boss. Yeah, no, especially with boss power up. That'd be really good. Okay, like that's all I'm doing. is that I'm getting a lot of tokens, but I'm getting a lot of tokens. B tier we go. Falcon Joaquin Torres for 2 and a white. We go 2/2 with flying and lifelink, and at least 2 other creatures attack. Put a +1/+1 counter onto him and scry a card. Okay, I mean it's a creature that gets slightly stronger and lets you scry. That's an F tier commander. Nothing to write home about. Firebird Blazing Ranger, flying 1/3 for 2 and a red. Attacks other attacking creatures +X/+0. X is Firebird's power, allowing you to give another temporary boost, allowing her to land in the D tier. Fixer Techno Terror. Pay 2 life, draw a card if an artifact entered under your controller's turn for 1 and a black. Not a realm of possibility of us getting an artifact every turn. We have access to, what is that, Pitiless Plunderer to get us those treasure tokens. I think that little bit of draw power is just enough to go into C tier. Flatman. Switches power and toughness on a turn. He's a 1/10. Okay, so you either have a 1/10. I guess he's gonna be good for like a big butt deck. For like the new Dorn that came out for Lorwyn. He's gonna go really well in there. But in terms of on his own as a commander, strong creature, F tier. Foggy Nelson on retainer. 1/3 Flash. Put a +1/+1 counter onto another creature you control. Gains hexproof until end of turn. Yep, of course it's on turn. End turn. So that's a temporary boost. That's a D tier commander. Franklin Richards Ascendant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, discover 6. You know what mana value most extra combat spells happen to fall under? 6. So if we could have Franklin Richards give us that cascade into the extra combat spell, we could then cascade into another one, another one, another one, another one. As long as we're running the correct ones that say after this there's an additional blah blah blah. Not after this there's some other wording. I can't remember it. Sorry, yeah. After this main phase, blah blah blah. But enough to get him into the B tier. Galactus, Devourer of Worlds, while 12 flying trample indestructible for 10, enters exile target permanent. It's a removal plus a strong creature. That's it. D tier. General Thunderbolt Ross, and at least 2 other attacking creatures are attacking. Creatures get +1/+0. That's a temporary boost. That's a D tier. Gert and Old Lace Runaways. A forgery with trample. Gert and Old Lace enter, discard a card, search library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into. Why would we want to just search up a land into our hand for green? We have access to green. Use green to its advantage. Run all the ramp. In terms of how good this is, though, not very. I mean, you are getting some card advantage in theory, but you're really not. You're going into D tier. Giant Man, Gargantuan Genius. 6/6 for draining 2 green for at the beginning of your first main phase, add green for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. In all honesty, you have access to green. Not gonna be hard for you to get that many. Get a whole bunch onto the board, get a whole bunch to get you some mana so you can cast even more and keep on winning the game. Putting him into, I could see low B, but I'm putting him into high C currently. Next up we have Goliath, Mass Manipulator. For 1 and a green, we have a 2/2 with reach. Power up 4 and green. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on him. Draw a card for each creature you control power 4 or greater. Another way to benefit off of those power 4 or greater cards. I like it. He's not that strong, but getting that amount of card draw, I think that warrants low B, high C. Next up we have Graviton, Fundamental Force. 2 in the blue for a Druidry. Cast draw your second card each turn. Target creature gains flying, or tap target creature. Draws a card. Nope, we have to draw more cards. Um, Tap target creature. Or, I guess we're dealing the 3 damage. Sure. I mean, may as well just be an unblockable creature. May as well just go to D tier. Next up, we have Green Goblin, back for more. Quite literally, back from a previous set. 3 and 2 black for 4/4 Flying Menace. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, each opponent discards a card. So you don't even have to attack with him. That's kind of cool. Card disadvantage for your opponents. It's card advantage for us. But we're also losing cards. But we probably have ways to run. Why can't I give names to the cards that are just like when you discard a land, get 2 black mana, and it's like the same when your opponent does that. I think that's solid enough for his low C tier. Next up, we have Herbie, lovable robot. Being combat on your turn, surveil 1, and tap for colorless. That's okay. It's nothing to write home about. Not super drilled, but not like upset. I think it's a solid D tier commander. Next up, we have Hammerhead, Magia Boss. For 1 and a black, sacrifice another creature or artifact, counter onto Hammerhead. Alright, I mean like Carrion Goblin. No, Carrion Feeder? I can't think of it. Yeah, Carrion Feeder, I think is the name of it. The one that sacrifices the creature, get +1/+1 counters onto itself, is already a good card. This has the same exact effect. Really good sacrifice outlet. You could probably go infinite some way if this has a sacrifice outlet. But as a commander, it gives itself pretty sizable stat boost. You have the right color in order to get that effect going. But still, I think as a commander, it's not going to do well. I think it's going to do well as a support piece in a lot of decks, though. So I think high D, low C. Happy Hogan, Bodyguard. For 5 and a blue, you get 3/3. Enters owner target creature an opponent controls, puts on top of their library, second from the bottom. Temporary removal. D tier. Happy Hogan, Dauntless Driver, a 2/1 for 1 mana. Pretty good stats for an F tier. Next up we have Hawkeye, Avenging Archer. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, Hawkeye dealt damage to it, you get to draw a card. Deal 1 damage to any target, you get to draw cards. Make sure he deals that damage. Pretty good draw power, pretty good C tier. Hawkeye Bowslinger, a 3/3 reach and vigilance for 2 and a white. Cast a spell that targets a creature, +1/+1 counter onto Hawkeye and scry 1. I think there's a very similar card in the main set without reach and vigilance just. I mean, it's okay. Counter onto himself, scrying 1. That's not target himself. I guess if you target your opponent's stuff, that'll work out pretty well too. So I think we could put him into low D. Hawkeye Clint Martin, a 3/5 with vigilance into the F tier. Hawkeye Trick Shot, first strike, reach. Hawkeye or another hero you control enters, deals damage equal to the number of heroes you control to any target. Oh, a little bit limited by just being heroes, but that's not a problem. Red is probably like one of the more common colors. So we're in a good position there. That could be a really good like source of damage, especially if we double or triple. I think we'll put that into high C. Helmet Zemo, Mastermind. For 2 and a blue, whenever this creature attacks, cast target instant or sorcery mana value less than or equal to its power from your graveyard. Spell would be put into your graveyard, exile instead, and make him stronger. Search your brainstorm. Now search up your, I don't know what a 4-year-old book is, but we're getting there. We're getting there eventually. You just still have to spend the mana, right? Nope, doesn't. You don't have to. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good effect. Just some good recursion. High C, low. I'll put B for this now. Yeah, I think low B for that. And next up, we have Hercules, Olympian Hero, a 3/3 for 3 and 2 white, where whenever Hercules attacks, put a +1/+1 counter onto him, gains indestructible, deals damage for the first time each turn, put that many +1/+1 counters onto him. So we have plenty of ways to redirect damage onto him, run the anti-venom type effects, um, make it so he's indestructible, so maybe we have ways to make it so our opponent has to block him. We don't really have fight spells. If he was access to green, I would say probably could end up like higher in the B tier, but being just like, sorry, higher in the C tier, but I think just being a strong creature just keeps getting stronger and stronger, ends him in this D tier for us. Hitmonkey. 3 and a green for a 3/3 with a whole bunch of keywords that can't be countered. That's just a strong creature. That'll just fit well into an Indominus, but not as its own commander, putting it to F tier for us. Hulk, always angry. For 5 and 2 red, we get 9/9 with Trample. Destroy all artifacts. Attacks each combat Fable. I mean, would you pay 7 for a Vandal Blast, I guess? That also gets you a 9/9 with Trample? I think I would. I think that'll earn him a C spot. Next up, we have Hulk, Bruce Banner, a 7/4 with Trample. That's just a strong creature. That's an F tier. Hulk, Brutal Brawler. Attacks each combat Fable, like they tend to do. Whenever Hulk attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. So not himself, but that is a way to get a bunch of counters on a bunch of creatures, especially having access to like so many tokens. That's really good, especially with like doing one at a time. Then we could proliferate maybe later, and we have like hardened scales in the meantime. I don't know where I want to put this because I feel like this is better than a D tier, but I don't know if it's good enough for C, but we'll put it in C. Hulk, strongest there is. 3/3 with Trample for 2 and 2 green. Hulk enters with a +1/+1 counter to him. Good for him. And it'd be your upkeep, double the number of counters on each gamma creature you control. So we do have more gammas. I guess all the Hulks are probably gammas. Even She-Hulk or Red Hulk or Hulkling. All the Hulks, I'm assuming. Hulkling. Yep. No, he's not. I mean, he gets stronger and stronger, even stronger after that. That's a really big stat line he's gonna have by the time he's done. Solid D tier. Hulkling, Young Avenger. Flying 4/4 for 2 and 2 red, where whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it becomes a copy of up to one other target creature until end of turn. Except his name is Hulkling. I guess if you have something that wants to deal combat damage, I don't know, it doesn't have to be our creature, it could be our opponent's thing. Maybe they have something we want to steal. Pretty good. Pretty good D tier. Like high D, low C. Next up we have Human Torch. 3/2 that gets flying, double strike, and haste if you cast a non-creature spell this turn. And you pay some mana in order to deal damage to each opponent, which could be a lot of damage. You have access to auras. That's a lot of damage. He's basically Ketis Emberclaw Familiar, plus a strong creature, a bunch of keywords. I could see A tier for him, but I reserve the right to move him down as we go forward. Hyperion, Supreme Hero. 7/7 for 4 and 3 white. Flash flying. If a source would deal damage to you or a hero you control, prevent all but one of that damage. Alright. It was said like to a sort if prevents all but one of that damage, and it protected some of our cards as well, other than just our heroes. I could see B tier, but currently this is enough protection to earn C tier. Oh, we got an Iceman Firestar card. A 3/3 with flying for 2 and a red and blue. Cast a blue spell, tap up to one target creature. I guess that's a freeze. And then Firestar gets whenever you cast a red spell, discard a card, draw a card. It's a little bit of card damage. Not like a lot. I guess you can really storm off with this. Actually, no, now that I think about it, this is actually pretty good. Because say if you run this, and then you run the Astonishing Spider-Man, those combo off pretty well, don't they? They're in the same thing. Probably in the same pack. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And then we draw a whole bunch of cards with Das's Oracle for the win. Ooh, that's a lot of draw power, actually. That's a solid B tier. Like high B, low, maybe even A. Probably not A, but it's a possibility always. Immortus, Master of Eternity. 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2. Tap, add blue for each card you've drawn this turn. Okay, so he could also go into that same deck that we were just talking about. You pay 5 and 2 blue. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard into their library, draws 7, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. Alright. It's 7 blue mana that we get for free, so we get to like use the ability anyway. So it works out at the end of the day. I think that like thinking about how much like blue mana you can get, especially if you really like stormed off with Iceman and Astonishing Spider-Man. I think that could go in a solid B tier for just a pure mana. Impossible Man. Flying 1/4 for 2 and a blue. Becomes a copy of another target permanent until end of turn, except its name is Impossible Man. Okay. It's okay. It's a okay card. I feel like Rammus from League of Legends. Okay. Not great. You don't get the enters ability. You get the attacks ability and the permanent abilities. I don't like it. I think it's a copy, so it's still like low C, but probably high D. Next up, we have Invisible Woman, getting you walls at the start of each combat, and making sure your creatures are unblockable at the start of combat. Sorry, unblockable and gain a whole bunch of stats. Really good partner with like Human Torch as well. But making that many tokens, getting that much of a stat boost is just temporary. But it is a huge stat boost. So like that's the problem we run into. It's just like, yes, but also D tier, temporary boost. Iron Fist, hero for hire, trample, prowess, power up for 7 and a red. Deals 5 damage divided as you choose among up to 5 targets. Put 5/+1/+1 counters on them. So there's a 7/7 that enters dealing damage to your opponent's stuff. Not great. Is he good? I don't think so. I mean, there's some removal, so escapes F tier barely. Into D. Iron Lad, Young Avenger for 2 red or blue. Cost destruction for non-creature spells and has flying. Cost destruction's always nice. And so into D tier. Sorry to take a sip of water. Iron Man, Armored Avenger. Drain a blue for 2/2. Draw a card, +1/+1 counter onto target creature. That's not just our first card each turn. That's as many cards as we want. And then other modified creatures gain flying. This way your entire board is going to be flying over your opponent's stuff. As you drew, especially if you had like a way to windfall. But how good is it? No way to draw cards. Stat boost sticks around. So I think solid high D, low C. Iron Man, Futurist Paragon. I don't know why I started reading this one first. 5/5 for 4 and 2 blue. Be of combat in turn. Target artifact creature. Artifact or creature. It's a 5/5 with flying. That's okay. Like it's a good stat boost, but it's temporary. So it's another D tier commander. Iron Man, Bleeding Edge. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, copy it. If it copies in legendary, so you get as many copies as you want. What's better than one copy of your best thing in your entire deck? A second copy, putting into B tier. Iron Man, Modern Marvel, flying. Other artifact creatures get +1/+1. Attacks. If you control another artifact creature, draw a card. Alright, we get some draw power. We get some stat boost. We get an Anthem plus some draw power. That's definitely a high C, low B. Iron Man, Tony Stark, flying. Attacking creatures get +1/+0. And whenever you cast a red spell, get a 2/1 robot hero artifact creature token with flying. We could have a whole army, especially if we really storm off. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, especially if we were playing like a grape shot like storm style deck. And then they all get a stat boost, so they're basically 3/1s with flying. Your opponent's not gonna have that many flyers. Solid B tier, like high B, low C. May have made it to A tier if he had an extra like blue to him. Ironmonger, Sadistic Tycoon. Whenever a creature you control connives, +1/+1 counter on each villain you control. Yes, a widespread boost for all of our creatures. Let's see, where do we put some other stuff? Sorry, just getting like bearings for what I've done. I guess, yeah, I guess that warrants a solid C tier. Limited by villains, but still really good, nice for your things to connive. Want to make sure you get the most out of it. Jack of Hearts, a versatile hero. Deals damage equal to his power to each creature. Basically, a board wipe that you don't want to remove. A way to sacrifice him. I guess we could run Ashnod's Altar. Discard your hand, draw a Druid. That's some good draw power. High C. Next up, we have Jarvis, Earth's Mightiest Butler. Cast a hero spell, draw a card. Limited by heroes, otherwise it would go into B, but since it's just heroes, that's B tier. Jocasta, Automaton Avenger. Commander deals damage to a player, +1/+1 counter onto her. Whenever you attack with your commander, if his card's in your graveyard, return to battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's a 3/3 with flying, essentially. I'm good with her in the F tier. King Prime. King Prime enters exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Put 2 time counters on that card. Doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. So it'd be a lot of like free stuff essentially. We do like free. We get to cast in a couple turns. So we put in the B tier. Doesn't take long for us to get that new effect, that new card smell, if you would. Then we have Carolina Dean, Runaway. 3/3 with flying for 3 and a red. At the beginning of your first main phase, add Wooburg and can't spend it to cast spells from your hand. That's okay, I guess. Huh. That's interesting. So, like, if she's your commander, you can't use that for your commander now. But, okay, and that's each turn. That's a lot of mana. You just play stuff from exile. You have access to all the colors. That's really good. I could see that in A tier, but you have to wait a little bit too long in order to get the effect. So I think B tier is more fitting. Killmonger, Ruthless Usurper. 3/3 with trample, attacks +1/+0 for each artifact defending player controls. That's right, this is one they forgot until end of turn. And when Killmonger deals common damage to a player, the player sacrifices an artifact and you get a treasure token. It's card disadvantage for our opponent, means card advantage for us. Super easy for him to get that damage off because he has the trample. So, definitely a mid-C commander. Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. Sacrifice Kingpin or another creature. Create 2 treasure tokens. Oh, wow. Okay. This seems... I feel like I'm reading something wrong. A 3/6 with 3 and a black. Menace. Whenever you sacrifice Kingpin or another creature, so not non-token creature, create 2 treasure tokens. Only once. So if we just run Ophiomancer with this, we're just getting a whole bunch of like mana that people have to spend, but we're also getting a whole bunch of like treasure tokens that people can't spend quite yet. This seems really good. I'm gonna put in A tier. No, I'm gonna put in B tier, like high B though. Claw, Master of Sound. That touch 3/3. Whenever you play a card from exile, Claw gains indestructible to end turn. And whenever Claw deals common damage to a player, look at the top card of your library. Sorry, that player's library. Exile face down. Play as long as it remains exile. You do still spend mana for it though. You run double strike, steal more stuff from your opponent. We have some stuff that we like to do that with. But it does also help out the commander. So I think solid mid C tier commander, helping us get those Vibranium out. Lady Loki, Agent of Chaos. Whenever you cast your first instant sorcery villain spell each turn, exile it, then exile cards from the top of your library until exile non-land card. Lady Loki deals damage equal to the difference between that spell's mana value and that non-land card's mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Free spell, anyone? That's what I'm basically hearing. I'll take that as a B tier, like high B. Well, let's take free spells, especially like when it's like easy and you get to dig down in terms of deciding like what you want from them. Ladies, we're getting more spiders, huh? Okay. Lady Spider, Maybell Riley. For 1 and a red, we get a 1 at reach. Whenever you discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target spider you control. In theory, you can power up other spiders, not powering them enough to get out of F tier for us. Living Laser. 4 and a red, haste, 4/4. Whenever Living Laser attacks, for each card you've discarded this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. Oh, that's a lot. Um, that's a lot. So it's at least like 16 with the amount of people I had there. That's the problem. So we're not, oh, that's basically gonna be like a game ending like Scoot Swarm type effect, except as haste. So I'm okay with that in solid high D, low C. Living Lightning charged up. Flying Haste 3/3 for 4 and a red. At the beginning of combat turn, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 on haste, so it's a temporary boost for another creature. That's a D tier commander. Lockjaw, Slobbering Teleporter, Vigilance 1/1 for 1 and a blue. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast another creature spell, +1/+1 counter. When you do, this another creature can't be blocked, making so you could block without some benefit downsides. It's pretty good stat boost, so put in D tier. Loki, God of Lies. For 1 and 2 red, we get 3/3, where whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single creature, you can control that creature until end of turn. If it's your turn, untap that creature. You can taste. Wait. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single creature, gain control of that creature until end of turn. Okay. And then if it's your turn, untap that creature gains haste. Oh, so this could work well in the Zidane deck. I like it. Um, or could it? I don't know. Maybe. But that's a lot of stealing stuff. And it's a lot of like supporting your opponent's stuff against them. That's definitely a high C, low B commander if we've seen one. Loki, Lord of Misrule. Dorina Blue. Pay blue and tap it. Choose target creature you control. All your creatures are now that creature. Um, there's some really good static effects that you can cast. So having a whole bunch of them is definitely high B, potentially A. I just don't like putting monocolor into A tier. Next up, we have Loki the Deceiver. Allow us to create tapped and attacking copies of our villains, but also when they deal damage, we get to draw some cards, which is what's going to end up in the B tier for all that draw power we're getting. Lucky the Pizza Dog. Being of your end step, you gain life, +1/+1 counter. You also get some food tokens, but not enough for it to get out of D tier for us. Luke Cage, Hero for Hire. 4/4 Trample, being combat. You got a treasure token. Okay. Um, I guess you're getting some advantage. C tier. Modoc, Evil Intelligent. Okay. For some reason, I thought they were doing like the face from the movie. How they had it. But 3 and 2 black for 3/5 flying. Whenever you cast your second card each turn, target opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Oh, okay. So all I have to do is connive at the start of every turn, like our neighbors been encouraging us to do. So let's see. Yeah, B tier works. M'Baku, a Jabari Chieftain. For 1 and 2 green, we have 4/3. We have end step if you're not, if there's no monarch, target opponent becomes a monarch. And whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, if that player is the monarch, that creature gets +1/+1 gains trample to end turn. So he's a temporary boost for one of your creatures. Helping us introduce monarch into the game doesn't help you from add D tier though. Madam Hydra, reanimated. Menace 2/2 gets +1/+1 for each creature card in the graveyard. So we run this with that Black Widow card. Enters, mill 2. Okay. Helping it. Well, I guess we get stronger and stronger. Um, I think that's strong enough to go into high D, potentially low C. Marvel Boy, Novar. For 1 either red or white, we get a 1/1, where whenever another creature you control entered, and whenever you sacrifice, whenever another creature you control enters, And whenever another creature you control power up ability, +1/+1 counter onto this card. So like no card advantage, temporary boost. Invading people's privacy. Not a fan. Solid F tier. Then we have Matt Murdock, Justice Seeker. Beat combat in your turn, pay some mana, get some counters onto your creatures. Each creature you control, what you counter on it has ward 1. That's some protection. That's enough to warrant high D, low C. Madden Medusa, Inhuman Queen, Vigilance Reach. Never play a cast a non-creature spell, +1/+1 counter onto her. That's any of your opponents. I mean, people like the Hydras, but she doesn't have trample in order to get to swing back. So I think just enough for F tier. Minotaur, Roxanne CEO, or another non-token creature you control dies. Yeah, 2/1 villain. Okay. So we have access to plenty of ways to sacrifice our creatures. Then we'll just have more creatures to sacrifice. So getting tokens on top of your tokens is going to put us into C tier. Mr. Fantastic allows us to copy our triggered abilities, but also allows us some draw power at the start of each of our combats. I think that could be enough draw power in order to get high C, low B. But thanks to the copy triggered abilities, he's going to go into a B tier for us. Because you can copy like enters, you can copy leaves, you can copy anything you want. It also doesn't have to be creatures. Mr. Immortal, a 2/1 for 1 and a green. Return this card from your graveyard or from exile to the battlefield tapped. It's just a creature at that point. That's a F tier. Mockingbird, Bobby Morse, 3 and a white. Is dealt damage. Put a +1/+1 counter onto her. Okay, so we use her to block in a good position. But you're only getting one at a time. You don't have access to green for fight spells or like really anything to like deal damage to her. So not great. We're just gonna go into F tier. Molecule Man. Everyone's been freaking out over this card. 6 colorless non-land cards in your hand have Miracle Zero, meaning that when you draw them, you get to cast them for free. Nothing to write home about that. Oh, sorry, it's definitely something to write home about. But it's nothing like really be scared of because, oh no, they're about to get Eldrazi. Like if you're playing against Eldrazi, he knew you were playing against Eldrazi. You just gotta stop them from getting the Eldrazi out. Because once they do, you're done. So you should have stopped by their hotel room if we had a chance. But other than that, I think we could put this into A tier temporarily. But I also don't like monocolored spells being in A tier. So we'll see. Alright. We're down to the final 100. We're almost there. We got this. Alright, Molly Hayes, Runaway. Power up. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on there. Exile top card of your library. You can cast that card. There's card advantage. There's ways to cast stuff from exile. You only do it once, so low C, high D. Moonboy, Dino Rider. Cost reduction for your dinosaurs. 2/2. Attacks while you control dinosaur. +1/+1. Really just there for your cost reduction. Not for D tier. Miss Marvel. Elastic Ally. Creatures got some stat boosts. Creatures you control with greater power and power toughness. Draw a card. Once each turn. But if they're need to ask, they don't need the extra shirt. So we're good there. Putting her into C tier. Next up we have Nakia, Wakandan Operative. Whenever your commander enters, you become the monarch and put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature or vehicle. Only as a sorcery now. Powers up your other stuff. Helps you become the monarch. Helps monarchs stay in the game, I guess. Let's see. It's over there. It's not enough of a Sapu's got a D tier now. Ooh, a Namor, Atlantean King. A 2/2 for 1, a white, and a blue. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, get a blue merfolk. We'd like to see that. And whenever he attacks a player who has more life than you, Other creatures get +2/+0, meaning that those 1/1 blue merfolk are now 3/0s, 3/1s swinging at our opponents, ready to make sure they get those toys recovered. Um, does it deserve C tier? Yeah, he's okay in C tier. There's enough tokens they're gonna be creating for it to be worth it. Namor Scourge of the Seas, Merfolk gets Stampoos and Flying. Sorry, yeah, other Merfolk you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has Flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control connives. So we're not conniving, we're just encouraging it? What? At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control connives. Each other merfolk you control with a +1/+1 counter has Flying. Um, yeah, I guess like it's an anthem type effect. Helping us get to C tier. Like to see that. And following up with Nemora, the Sea Queen. Flying 2/3 for 2 and a blue, and you pay 5 and a blue, put +1/+1 counter onto her, and get 2 Merfolk tokens. I mean, it's okay. You get the Merfolk token, so it avoids F tier, but not enough to go into C tier quite yet. Nick Fury, Spymaster, for 4 and a white. You get a 4/4 with first strike. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, draw a card. Then you may put a creature card mana value 3 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. Tapped and attacking, gains indestructible. Gains indestructible is really good on that. So we get draw power, we get some cheats, some creatures in, and yeah, potentially some damage dealing abilities getting dealt with. That's a solid B tier commander. Nico Nemoru, Runaway. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, deal 2 damage to each opponent. You pay 2 and a red, discard a card, exile cards on the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card for free. What's better than free? Free plus dealing 2 damage to your opponents. Just getting free spells for 3 mana. I'd take that deal for B tier commander. Next up, we have Nighthawk, Dark Defender. Another hero you control enters, target creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a temporary stat boost. That's a D tier. Okoye, Mighty and Adored. For 2, a green and a white, we get a 3/3. Become the Monarch. Add to be a combat turn. +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Monarch also has double strike and trample, meaning that we want to make sure we stay the Monarch, make sure we deal damage to our opponent. But the thing is, like, normally like, you don't. Whenever that creature attacks. Oh, whenever it attacks the Monarch. Okay, so this way it makes sure it gets it back. Okay, I was gonna say because I thought it's backwards for a second. But that's really cool. Monarch does help us draw some cards, so let's put into C tier. Patriot, Young Avenger, a prowess 3/2 for a 2 in either red or white, and as long as it's equipped, other creatures you control get +1/+0. That's another stat boost. That's D tier. Peggy Carter, Secret Agent. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, gains indestructible until end of turn. Has to attack alone, temporary stat boost. Solid D tier. Might have been. Okay, no, yeah, never mind. Arrow, Ramatut, for 4/4, Ward 2. Non creature spell, Connive. Connive more so better served in like a different deck, but it could definitely run on its own. It could also just storm off and just like dig through your whole deck until you get to your Das's Oracle Labman wins with this one. Draw a card, then draw another card with the Connive. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's worth B tier. Photon, Lady of Light, attacks, exile to 1 target creature you control, then returns to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then we get Blink. We like Blink commanders. Blink helps us get a whole bunch of other effects. So, solid C tier. Photon, Mighty Marvel, a 2/4 for 3 and a red with flying, and whenever you deal combat damage to a player, add that much mana of any color you choose, and it sticks around. So we deal more damage, get more combats, because we could use that to use for not aggravated assault. Is aggravated assault the one I'm thinking of? When we pay 5 to get an extra combat. but definitely worth it. Definitely a lot of mana you're getting. Solid beats here. Power Pack, Flying Vigilance Trample Haste. Deals combat damage to a player. Exile target instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. Maybe your next upkeep, you may cast that card without paying some mana cost. Unfortunately, you can't do extra current spells too often, except for like the first time. The spell does get exiled, which is disappointing, but I understand why I don't want you to do it twice. Really worth it. Really good, like free spells. Solid A tier. Professor Hulk, letting you draw cards equal to the match damage he deals when he attacks, and he is a 6/6 with trample. That's a lot of draw power. Doesn't happen every time though, and it's pretty expensive to get on the board. So we'll say C tier. Puppet Master, String Puller, a 2/4 for 2 in a red, where whenever you attack, goad creatures, and they can't block. One more goad creatures deals con damage to one of your opponents. Treasure token. Alright, so we're getting rid of our opponent's steps, and we're getting advantage out of it. So we'll put it into C there. Queen Mother Ramonda enters, you become the monarch. So as your monarch, creatures with power 2 or less can attack you. No need to worry about tokens, I guess. Yeah, that's really good. We like to see that. But yeah, that's about it. It's just some protection. And I guess a little bit of draw power. Not enough to go above D tier though. Quicksilver, Piero Maximoff, a 3/2 with haste for 2 in a red, putting him into the F tier. Quicksilver Speedster, a 3/4 for 3 blue and a red. Flash, double strike haste. And as long as Quicksilver is tapped, you may cast spells as though they had flash. Being able to cast spells as though they had flash is really intrinsic value, making sure you basically board wipe during your opponent's turn, putting us into the C tier. Wait, I thought Radioactive Man was a Simpsons thing. I guess not. 4 in a black for a 3/5 with that touch, where whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. Ooh. And we could run this with like double strike as well. And that's a lot of damage. It makes sense though, because it's like a radioactive half-life, which is really cool. But still, solid C tier. Red Ghost, Intangible Guardian. Can't be blocked. Draw a second card. Get a 3/3 ape. Good value for us. We want to draw cards anyway. We want to make sure we're getting those army of apes. Just can't get too many of them. But you do have access to like multiple colors now. So you just discard a card, draw a card at instant speed for like. I know there is like a couple of those. Can't remember names though. So solid, high D, low C. Which one do we need more in? Yep, C. Reed Richards, smartest man, no maximum hand size, reach 2/4. First time you draw a card each time. First card you draw during each of your draw steps, draw 4 cards instead. Oof, that's a lot of draw power. That's a lot of draw power, winding him up into C here. So it's just draw power at the end of the day. Nothing really to write home about. Following up, we have Rescue, Pepper Potts. Enters, return another artifact or creature from to its owner's hand. Temporary removal of your opponent's stuff, winding up in D tier, even if it is a flash speed. Rhino, Terrible Trampler, 4 and 2 green for 7/6. Enters, destroy target artifact or land. Ooh. Distribute 3+1/+1 counters among 3 other target creatures you control. They gain trample till end of turn. Enters, destroy target artifact or land. That's pretty good. And give him the Rhino type on this card, is notice. So you're giving a stat boost, a decent enough stat boost to wind up in the D tier. Zoran, Dino Devotee, 3 and 2 green, enters or attacks. You get to gain some life, or you make stuff into dinosaurs. We're on mono green dinosaur tribal. I mean, it could also just work well for some of your other dinos. You run some stuff with a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters onto it. You're sitting pretty well. Your opponents may not be. Putting into B tier. Scarlet Witch, Chaotic Avenger, a 3/3 with for 2 a blue and a red. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, the top 2 cast any heroes or non-creature spells for free. Just load up on non-creature spells and just storm off at that point. Like no, or not even like we need to storm off. Maybe that's just all you need at that point. But I think that's worthy of an A tier commander personally. Huh. Guys, I have all red, blue almost up here. Anyway, Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, 2-3 with Menace, winding her up in the F tier. Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. Enters, draw a card. Sorry, every draw a card, get some counters onto him. Get your 10th, get 5 counters and draw 5 and get 5 life, which gives us a lot of advantage over what our opponents have, which gives us enough to have a strong creature and enough draw power to put him into B tier. Shang-Chi, Martial Mentor. If you get counters on your creatures, get double that number of counters as well. You get 3 counters on something to begin with. So he's a strong creature, bumps himself up a lot. So that's worthy of C tier based on the amount of stat boost he gives. Next up we have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Vigilance 3/3, power up, double number of counters on each creature you control. That's not a really good power up, putting her into C tier. She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, a 4/4 trample, sacrifice land, draw a card, +1/+1 counter. Draw a card as C tier. She-Hulk, Wallbreaker, giving all of your creatures with counters trample. This way dealing some damage right to our opponent's faces with a solid D tier commander. Shuri, Black Panther, draw a card. Attack, draw a card, control 3 more artifacts, then a stat boost otherwise if you have 6 or more. Not really often you get to that stat boost, but a little bit of draw power definitely going to help us out in terms of getting to the C tier. Shuri, Vibranium Technologist, 2 in either Azorius, play for 2/2 Vigilance, get a 1/1 Robot Hero, or draw a card. Either one's okay. Not for D tier, it's only once. Silver Surfer, Cosmic Voyager, helping you search up, I was going to say Thanos, but it's Galactus. Flash Flying, enters, exile any number of other target permanents you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control, being the next end step. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of a different Silver Surfer. This one blinks all your stuff, though, which is going to be super helpful to avoid laundry, putting into, wherever we were. Silver Surfer, this one searches up Galactus. And then whenever he deals count damage to a player, till end of turn, target creature attacks each player. Whenever Silver Surfer deals combat damage to a player, and the dead of your next turn, I don't know why I'm having such trouble. D tier, I'm only searching up a very niche card. Songbird, Sonic Screamer, 2/1 with lifelink, discard a card, gain flying, F tier. Spider-Man, Hometown Hero, 5/4 reach, enters, target creature power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn, temporary stat boost, D tier. Spider-Man, new champion. You discard 1 or more cards, deals damage, how much damage equal to any target to your opponent's faces. Maybe you wield and you had a Wheel of Fortune, and that's 7. You're dealing 7. That's a lot better than a lot of the other ones. C tier. Spider-Man Web Spinner, Double Strike Haste 2/3. Why is this $25? Oh, sorry, when it attacks, target creature can't block this turn. I don't think that matters. I think that's still D tier. Stature, Young Avenger, Reach, cast a 9 creature spell, base power and toughness 4/4 until end turn. Alright, making us a 4/4 essentially. F tier. Sick, Fearless Mentor. Whenever a source you control deals combat damage to you, exile the top card of your library. Play it, only happens once each turn. Making so you don't want to accidentally break your own face with a bow. Yeah, some good card advantage, putting us into C tier. Stiltman, Towering Tower, really bad card. I don't even want to look at it again. F tier. Storm, Queen of Wakanda, giving a flying and stat boost to one of our creatures, only temporarily, but also on top of that, it also prevents any flyers from wanting to attack us. So, and it puts us into C tier. Storm, Shaker of Skies, destroy up to 1 target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Just some removal. Put it into D tier. We're almost done, right? I can almost feel it. We're almost there. Um, yeah, here someday. Anyway, T'Chaka, Venerable King. For green and a white, we have 2/2 milled cards. Then put any number of artifacts among the mill cards into your hand, and then exile this card from your graveyard. Kind of Monarch. It's a little bit of extra draw power. Not enough to go out D tier though. T'Challa the Black Panther, helping you get some Power Stone tokens, which will help you get your artifacts, which will help you get stronger T'Challa, which means that we need to work together on this one, putting together a C tier meal. Thanos, that's comfort. 3/3 lifelink, where whenever another creature dies, +1/+1 counter on Thanos, helping us get a very strong Thanos so far. Anyway, but whenever their creature dies, slightly worse version of Super Shredder, I guess. So D tier, F tier. The Fabulous Frogman, F tier. The Falcon, Sam Wilson, flying, enters 1/1 counter on each other creature you control for a D tier. Fantastic card. Flying 4/4, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, becomes an artifact creature, and whenever you cast your fourth non-creature, you get this is split into 4/4/4s, which is a pretty good stat line. But in terms of a commander on its own, well, I mean, if it gets removed to get to 4 tokens, then you could just have a new one. I think this could be a easy B tier. The Frightful 4, a 4/4 for 3 in the black. Menace, opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn. Player loses a bunch of life. Basically stopping our opponent from wanting to play the game too much. So we'll put it into C tier. Howling Commandos. Creatures you control get a temporary stat boost and vigilance. That's D tier. Immortal Weapons. Enters, return instant sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. When you cast a non-creature spell, get a stat boost, but also recursion, C tier. The Squadron Sinister, giving your villains a stat boost along with flying and haste, making sure that you deal some damage. Solid D tier. The Thing, helping us get some counters onto himself, and also doubling up some planeswalkers, some other things that may have been missed. So I feel like this could go easily A. Vision and the Scarlet Witch, whenever you cast a spell, add red mana and put a +1/+1 counter onto them. This way you could help yourself storm off, even that much more, putting into B tier. And then we have the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, flying 1/1, enters, deals 4 damage to target tap creature and opponent controls. I guess it could be removal. Put onto D tier. Wasp, Winsome Avenger. Enters, target hero gains hexproof. Tap target creature defending player controls. Alright. Temporary removal, I guess, and some protection. D tier, temporary though. The Wizard. Excuse me. Dri first strike and haste. Yeah, we put that into F. That's the most obvious F1. Thor, Asgard's Avenger. Help me get 1 extra damage. It's okay. Nothing like right home about. Yeah, I think that's D tier if I've ever seen one. Like, at least it's more than a strong creature. At least it gives you a little bit of extra damage. Dork, Guardian, and Midgard. Sacrifice, whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, makes out that many cards from the top of your library, play those cards this turn. Which could be quite a bit. Let's see our creatures deal damage. You do have to spend a mana, but it's a lot of card advantage. I can see that for A tier. Sorry, B tier. Titania, Proud Pummelmaker. That's just a strong creature, putting it to F tier. Tiger Shark, Abyssal Hunter. Attacks, he connives, can't be blocked. Another strong creature with temporary stat boost for F tier. Tippy Toe, Terrific Partner, getting us some draw power when we gain life, which, if we're getting tokens, we're also getting food tokens. Peregrine Took, already a great card. Peregrine Took also let you draw a card every turn. Oof. we'd be in trouble. So we currently are. That's why this is going to the C. Titanium Man. Gains flying till end turn or 1 damage to any target, which neither is necessarily good. I feel like I did this one for some reason. No, I guess not. F tier. Tri-Sentinel Active Vengeance. Attacks for each opponent. Tri-Sentinel deals 3 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. This is some removal. Flying Menace doesn't do the turn he comes down, so it still ends up in D tier. Typhoid Mary, Fractured. Is this supposed to be Mary Jane? I can't tell. Choose one at random. If you discard the card turn, you choose instead. You get a treasure, draw a card, or each opponent loses some life. All three pretty good effects. All three give you some advantage, winding up in C tier. Ultimo, Civilization's End. Enters each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. Yeah, it's just each opponent. Discard. Each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. That's much better. Yeah, it's some removal, so it's D tier. Ultron, the Annihilator. Ultron enters or attacks to create a 2/2 robot villain, where whenever another artifact is either milled or discarded, you could deal some damage to your opponent, which could be quite a bit, especially if your deck's full of artifacts and you have access to black, so you have plenty of access to waste the mill. So, B tier. Just, it's monocolored, so and I'll put it into A tier. Ultron Machine Overlord. Stat boost for all of your robots and constructs, but this is a pretty big stat boost and a pretty rare one, so we'll put it into C tier. Ultron Unlimited, allowing us to copy our allowing himself to connive when he attacks. Then when creatures connive, you also get to get some robot villains, which even better because we like to see that type of effect. This way we could get more villains, more winners. Solid A tier. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Other villains you control are heroes, and your heroes get to connive, allowing you to get your other abilities going, allowing you to get some draw power. C tier. Valeria Richards, Precious. Cost reduction, plus some draw power. C tier. Victor Manaka, Runaway. Enters, exile target card from your graveyard. You play it for as long as you control this card. Some recursion. C tier. Victor Timely, Wily Tycoon. You may cast target artifact, instant, sorcery, mana value 4 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Put in your graveyard, exile it. Free spell, always nice to see. B tier, especially because you can go in a whole bunch of different directions for that one. Viper, Cruel Commander. Target creature attacking gains your choice of Death Touch or Lifelink, or a little bit of stat boost. All are temporary, so we know where it's going, don't we? Vision, Spectral Synthesoid. On storing your turn, you may cast non-creature or robot spell from your hand for free, essentially. Interesting. I'm trying to think. Sorry, looking at the card. I think it seems C tier worthy. Just copy your best thing. Vision, Synthesoid Avenger. Getting some counters, phasing out. And he's already a 3/3. So, D tier. Wilt Ultra, Feathered Fiend. One or more creatures you control deal common damage to the player. +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. This way they get stronger and stronger. This way you can deal more and more damage. And I feel like it's a little bit niche with the flying, but still, it's easier. Wakabi, Shield of the Nation, Vigilance, 2/3, for 1 and a green. Whenever you attack with your commander, an artifact, or cast an artifact mana value 4 or greater, And a 4/4 Rhino. You know, overwhelm our opponent with a bunch of Rhinos if we really wanted to, after we stockpiled our Vibranium, giving us a healthy, like 40 minutes. So, you'll put it into C tier. War Machine, Avenging Arsenal, giving some your modified creatures double strike, but he does have to attack and it's only temporary, so we'll do D tier. War Machine, James Rhodes, attacks, tap up to one target creature, temporary removal in theory, D tier. Wask, Shrinking Savior. Draw a card for each creature with power less than 0 on the battlefield. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. But yeah, a little bit of draw power is definitely nice for us. Whirlwind, Killer Cyclone. Whenever one or more creatures you control entered this turn attack a player, target creature that player controls can't block them, meaning giving real reason to haste, but temporary stat boost, so that's a D tier. White Tiger, Amulet Keeper. Exile this card from your graveyard. Draw a card, but you're never going to do that, so F tier because it's just a 3/1. White Widow, Yelena Belova. Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter onto it. Stat boosts that are going to keep on coming for the D tier. Wiccan, Young Avenger. Cast a non-creature spell, exile top card of your library. Until you exile until your next end step, you may play that card. Well, cast a non. I guess you could storm off and help you get more and more stuff each time. That'd be something cool to do. Solid C tier. Willie Lumpkin, Postman, helping you draw some cards, helping your opponent stop attacking you. Draw power is always nice. C tier. Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, just a tapped creature. F tier. Winter Soldier, Reborn Avenger. Letting some recursion for your heroes is limited to heroes though, so we're going to put it into D tier. Wolfsbane, highlighted hero. Trample 2/2. Gets a little bit of stat boost. Not sticking around to see what it looks like. So we have a 4/4 in the F tier. Wolverine, claws out. Assigns combat damage as though it weren't blocked. Mean that you still deal a bunch of damage to your opponent's face. And whenever a mutant you control attacks, double its power, 4 damage to your opponent's face. Solid D tier though, honey. X-23, Deadly Weapon. Whenever another mutant you control enters, 1/1 counters. And this creature also gets a counter. Not enough mutants for it to truly be worth it quite yet. So I think that's still D tier. Zarda, Power Princess. The heroes have exalted, and she is flying herself. F tier. She isn't really necessary. Couldn't explain what it said. And finally, Zori, Warrior of the Wasteland. Warrior of Wakanda. For 1 in a green, trample. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, mana value 4 greater, 1/1 counter. I'm putting it into D tier. Overall, making our top 5: Scarlet Witch, Molecule Man, Human Torch, Boss, and Astonishing Spider-Man. And our other top 5 list is Tony Stark, Monica Rambeau, but that's the deck there. Oh, not that. That's our thoughts on the commanders there. Leave your own thoughts down there in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.